The Boston Red Sox have provided us with memorable
What a
moments.
mob on this field. They're coming out of the stands from all over.
Prolific Hall of Fame
A
performance.
home run for Ted Williams in his last time at bat in the Major League.
Moments of spine-tingling poignancy.
Conigliaro hits a home run his first time at bat at Fenway Park.
All sprinkled with a dash of humor
Yes, just completely covered up home plate with the dirt, took off his helmet.
and a pinch of melancholy.
New England, I love you.
They have taught us so much about life. That no lead is safe.
To left field and deep and down he goes back and it's gone. Unbelievable.
That heroic performances can be aided by a wall that giveth,
High ball, left center. Grand slam.
and a wall that taketh away.
Into left field. Yaz is going back, and it's off the wall. Yaz plays it directly off the wall. Here's the throw to second base. He's out.
From the Red Sox, we have learned that it is better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. That you can will yourself to greatness so that people will in fact look at you and say, there goes the greatest hitter that ever lived. That impossible dreams do come true. That there is power in prayer and body English. And that good things will come to those who wait. The Boston Red Sox are first and foremost a New Englander's birthright, the single most unifying source in a six-state region, but also part of a Red Sox nation that stretches far beyond regional boundaries.
But they're not just a town team. They're not just the Boston Red Sox. They belong to all of us. There's something about this team and its storied history. There's something about the amazing people that are down to one name. Ted, Yaz, Manny, Pedro has made the Boston Red Sox, not just for us regular guys, but for the writers and the Hollywood directors. They make us feel better about being alive.
Steps up to the plate, he's got that weird stand.
Yeah.
And then, boom, he clocks it, High fly ball on the left field line. 35,000 people on their feet, yelling at the ball, but that's not because Fisk, he's waving at the ball like a madman. He's going, get out! Get out!
Writers and musicians and television people and historians wax eloquent about the Red Sox, and all the way from the John Updikes to the Stephen Kings. They weave the Red Sox into their stories.
But unlike other icons in New England, from the coast of Maine to the back roads of Connecticut, the Red Sox are a thread in the fabric of New England. Dissected in December, fantasized about in February, and fanning the flames of our attention and imagination from opening day to October, the Red Sox are New England's most treasured jewel. They play in a ballpark, defined as a place not to just watch, but to participate in a slice of Americana. A ballpark where a Red Sox game, especially our very first Red Sox game, paints a perfect picture in our minds.
I can remember walking down the runway to the dugout, and as the green monster appears out of the dugout, you're going, oh my gosh, it's big, but it's not as big as I thought it was going to be, and it was just so green out there.
I grew up in New Hampshire. I'm a New Englander. That's where my roots are. That's where my values are. The dreams and the fantasies to wear a Red Sox uniform, to hit one off the wall, to play in Fenway Park. And then to do that. I mean, you can't imagine the feeling.
And I always dreamt about playing for the Red Sox, and I'd be dreaming and the bases would be loaded and Red Sox would be behind 3-0. And I'd come up with the bases loaded, and I always hit a home run.
When I first went out there and we looked at the green monster, it looks like a golf ball kind of, because there's so many dents in the wall. And I looked up at the wall and I'm like, wow, all the great players, Babe Ruth, DiMaggio, Ted Williams, Yaz, and you probably have a dent against that wall. I know I got a dent in there too, and my dent's who's it next to?
This is deep.
I mean, this place was electric. Didn't matter who we were playing. We had 35,000 at Fenway during those 7 years I was here, and it was a magical time.
For some reason, Boston just seems to be different than any other field. You feel the heat from the fans. You really feel that they know what baseball is all about.
It's the 100-year history of the Red Sox that's being passed down from generation to generation within families. It's this legacy of love.
With the Jimmy Foxes and the Lefty Groves and Joe Cronin, what they left you was a beautiful thing. It was a treat. It was a lesson in baseball.
If Red Sox fans are the foundation upon which the franchise has been built, it is appropriate that on March 9th, 1901, it was a fan, Hi Dixwell, who broke earth for the Huntington Avenue grounds. The home of the Boston charter member of the newly formed American League. Right from day one, the franchise became a newsworthy item. The Americans brazenly raided the established Boston National League team and signed Jimmy Collins, baseball's greatest third baseman, who would double as manager. If they wore numbers in his day, Jimmy Collins would have worn number 1. Not only was he the Americans' first player and first manager, he also had the team's first hit and scored its first run. Among his admirers was John L. Sullivan, the Boston strong boy and the first heavyweight champion of the world. Their credibility in the Boston sports landscape became forever and firmly entrenched when they lured Cy Young from St. Louis. Befitting his status as baseball's premier pitcher, Young insisted that he bring with him his personal catcher, Lou Krieger, a renowned defensive specialist. The Americans' popularity reached frenzied proportions in 1903 when they played in baseball's first World Series against the Pittsburgh Pirates. A crowd of more than 16,000 was so unexpected in the 9,000-seat grounds that some of the Americans, including Cy Young, manned the ticket booths. The police were called in to move the crowd back when they invaded the field for a close-up look at the teams warming up. The meeting place for so many of these Boston baseball fans was the Third Base Saloon in Boston's South End, where proprietor Michael "Nuff Said" McGreevy ruled. McGreevy was Boston's first baseball raconteur, who dispensed drinks with one fist and ended arguments with the other when he pounded it on the bar and proclaimed, "Nuff said." So vocal were these fans, called the Royal Rooters, that when the Americans beat Pittsburgh to capture that first World Series, the Pirates said that it was due to the distraction caused by the Rooters singing an annoying song called Tessie. If ever there was a World Series for a team to celebrate with their fans, this was it. Of course, it did not hurt Boston's cause that they possessed baseball's first king of pitchers in one Cy, as in Cyclone, Young. Usually pitching with just a day or two of rest between starts, Young posted 33 wins for the world champs. In 1904, he pitched the modern era's first perfect game, as the Americans captured their second consecutive American League pennant. But there would not be another world champion flag to raise on Huntington Avenue. It seemed the National League champion New York Giants considered it beneath them to be on the same field as a team from the upstart American League. For Cy Young, there is consolation. He is the only pitcher in baseball history to record more than 500 victories. Cy Young, baseball's first pitching legend, is forever immortalized, as the game's most prestigious pitching award bears his name. In 1907, Red Sox owner John I. Taylor seized upon the fact that the rival Boston Nationals made a uniform change by slipping out of their red stockings. Taylor was inspired by the style and adopted it and a new moniker for his nine, the Boston Red Sox. A name that was also headline-friendly for his family's other enterprise, the Boston Globe. In 1912, the team embarked on what would turn out to be one of the great years in Red Sox history. While the ball players were getting in shape by hiking through the woods at their spring training site in Hot Springs, Arkansas, in full equipment including spikes, no less, owner Taylor was getting a new home ready for his Red Sox in Boston. He named the park Fenway Park because, as he reasoned, it's in the Fenway section of Boston, isn't it?
Unlike almost any other city, maybe Brooklyn, Boston has been about a neighborhood game. The fact that the Huntington Avenue grounds was where it was, Fenway where it was to saying, you know, this is our neighborhood place. This is where we go to be together.
The original Fenway Park consisted of an uncovered left field grandstand, a roof covering the right field stands, and wood bleachers in center field. On April 20th, 1912, Fenway Park opened as the new home for the Red Sox, and with it was unveiled an idiosyncratic 25-foot wall in left field. The Red Sox were a serious subject. The Boston Globe reported that no time was wasted in childish charades. The Red Sox, before a crowd of 24,000 fans, beat the New York Highlanders 7-6 in an event that shared page one billing with the sinking of the Titanic. The game was also another in a long series of emotional affairs with the Highlanders, who 1 year later would become known as the Yankees. Just 6 days after the opening, light-hitting Hugh Bradley of Worcester swatted a home run over the fence at Fenway. This surprised the experts, who in the dead ball era had predicted that it might be years before that happened. And they certainly never expected it would come off the bat of Bradley. It was the second and last home run of his major league career. The dead ball era demanded defensive stalwarts, and the Red Sox had the best in the fabled golden outfield of Duffy Lewis, Tris Speaker, and Harry Hooper. Center fielder Tris Speaker possessed a strong and accurate arm, and his single-season record of 35 assists still stands as a Red Sox record. He combined his defensive prowess with a .344 career batting average, an average that remained untouched as a Red Sox record until tied 5 decades later by Ted Williams. Tris Speaker was a superstar, well before that term was introduced. Right fielder Harry Hooper was a college graduate with a degree in civil engineering. After Hooper signed a contract for $2,850, John Taylor approached him about putting the degree to use in the construction of the new Fenway Park. Instead, Hooper put his strong arm to use to cut down enemy runners who tried to advance a base. Harry Hooper is the Red Sox all-time leader in assists. Left field possessed another Fenway idiosyncrasy in the form of a 10-foot slope in front of the wall that was also used as a seating area for overflow crowds. This area became known as Duffy's Cliff, named for Duffy Lewis, the player who mastered it by running up and down it to track down fly balls. The golden outfield of Speaker, Hooper, and Lewis was fortified on the mound by Smokey Joe Wood. In 1912, Wood reeled off 13 straight wins, setting up an epic duel with the fireballing strikeout king, the Washington Senators' Walter Johnson. Johnson had just completed a 16-game winning streak of his own.
Walter Johnson had his 16 straight, and he was beaten on his 17th. And I had about 11 or 12, and I was on my way to beat. I never even gave it a thought about beating Johnson's record, and that's what got the crowd in. Don't ever remember a crowd being up around the home plate. They were all over around the home plate, and they'd open up to let me warm up for the game and so on.
But Wood sent them home happy, emerging victorious in a 1-0 classic that was as good as advertised. Of Wood, the gracious Walter Johnson said, "Can I throw harder than Joe Wood? Listen, my friend, there is no man alive who can throw harder than Smokey Joe Wood." Wood finished the greatest season ever by a Red Sox pitcher by compiling a club record 34 victories. But the best was yet to come in the World Series of 1912, as he added 3 more wins against the New York Giants. In the clinching win, he bested legendary pitcher Christy Mathewson. The Red Sox World Championship provided the exclamation point on their inaugural season in Fenway Park. And life was especially good for Smokey Joe Wood and his roommate Tris Speaker, the most valuable player. But it was Wood who was the toast of the town in a parade that stretched from Fenway Park to Faneuil Hall.
Maybe the best thing that you could ever have been in American sports history was to be Smokey Joe Wood in 1912. At the peak of your physical powers, living in a city that was captivated by baseball in those innocent times, life must have been pretty good for Smokey Joe Wood. I wouldn't mind trade places with him that year.
The face of baseball changed forever on July 11, 1914, when Red Sox rookie George Herman Babe Ruth emerged as the winning pitcher in his major league debut. The public adored Ruth, but his teammates did not. The rookie was perceived as being disrespectful by his veteran teammates due to his penchant for taking too mumuch batting practice. So they hand-delivered their wrath by sawing his bats in half. Ruth pitched sparingly in his first season. The emphasis instead placed on refining his technique, including his odd habit of sticking the tip of his tongue out of the corner of his mouth, which inadvertently tipped off the opposition that a curveball was coming. But if Ruth was on the outs in 1914, by 1915, with a record of 18-8, he was very much in as the Red Sox beat the Philadelphia Phillies to win another World Series with a golden outfield playing the lead roles. Duffy Lewis batted .444. Tris Speaker made electrifying catches in center field. And Harry Hooper socked 2 home runs, the first time a player had multiple home runs in a World Series. 1916 saw the departure of Tris Speaker to the Cleveland Indians in a trade initially vilified by his teammates and fans. But Larry Gardner, a native of Vermont, filled the void and became the only regular that season to bat more than .300. A fixture at third base for 10 years, Gardner starred in the 1916 World Series against the Brooklyn Dodgers. He swatted a 3-run inside-the-park home run for a repeat world champion Boston Red Sox. By 1917, Babe Ruth had become a feared pitcher, but not one without his eccentricities. In one game, he was ejected after landing a punch to the neck of umpire Brick Owen, after Owen called 4 straight balls to the game's first batter. With Ruth banished, Ernie Shore was rushed into action. The base runner was promptly erased attempting to steal. Shore then methodically set down all 26 batters he faced in a 4-0 Red Sox victory and was credited with the only perfect game at Fenway Park, thanks to the temper of Babe Ruth. The Red Sox were back in the World Series again in 1918, and the legend of Ruth loomed larger as he set a then-series record by pitching 29 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings. Some of those innings dating back to the 1916 series. Babe Ruth had emerged as the most dominating left-hand pitcher of his time, and the Red Sox were the most dominating team of their time, winning 4 World Series in 7 years. Back in Ruth's rookie year, Harry Hooper prophesied about his 19-year-old teammate. He could eat more than anyone else, and he could hit a baseball further. Hooper would be proven right on both counts. Ruth became a full-time batter in 1919 when he slugged a record 29 home runs. He almost doubled that the next year, but it was not to be with the Boston Red Sox. Owner Harry Frazee, calling Ruth one of the most inconsiderate men I ever met, traded him to the New York Yankees. Bob Quinn became owner of the Red Sox from 1923 to 1933, a decade in which the team in Fenway Park fell into disrepair. They had their stars. Ira Flagstad had a .294 batting average over 7 seasons. Howard Enke pitched a no-hitter and a one-hitter on consecutive starts in 1923, and Dale Alexander won the batting championship in 1932 with an average of .367. But Quinn's Red Sox won only 43 games in 1932 while losing 111. Attendance was down to an average of less than 3,000 spectators per game. The Red Sox were in trouble and needed a savior.
I would come off the road after the Red Sox played away from home, and the first thing he'd see me, he'd say, "Hey, Curdy," he called me Curdy. He says, "I hit 6 off the wall the other day," or I, counted the times he hit the wall or over the wall. He used to work out with a bunch of kids while the Red Sox were on the road. I think he owned the ball club just to do that.
Tom would work out in the mornings with the clubhouse kids and the ground crew, and then they would take their blanket and go out and sit in the outfield in the sun. Gene would bring a lunch over and their portable radio, and they'd sit there and listen to the game. And Gene would keep score, and Tom would listen, and Gene would tell me about, he would be criticizing the announcers if the announcers weren't telling him on every pitch where the pitch was, high or low, and whether it was a breaking ball, fastball. He was so intense and in the game, and he had Gene keeping score, so it was amazing.
When he was a young man, his uncle owned the Detroit Tigers. Thus it was that Thomas A. Yawkey was able to enjoy hunting trips with Hall of Famer Ty Cobb and other members of the Detroit team. When an inheritance cleared when Yawkey turned 30, he purchased the Boston Red Sox from Bob Quinn. The date was February 25, 1933.
Think about it, in the middle of the Depression, the worst crisis in America since the Civil War, and into Beantown comes Yawkey, and he buys up this team, and he brings it back to the former glory. He starts putting together a winning team and gives us all something that we can hold on to, something that we can care about again.
Yawkey quickly hired his boyhood idol, former Philadelphia A's great Eddie Collins, as his first general manager. They immediately began renovating the ballpark, including the left field grandstand, which had been destroyed in a 1926 fire and never replaced. Then, devastation struck. On January 25, 1934, just months after the renovations had begun, a 4-alarm blaze taking 5 hours to control caused extensive damage to Fenway Park. But miraculously, with workmen scheduled around the clock, Fenway Park celebrated its grand reopening just 3 months later. The 25-foot wooden fence in left field had become a 37-foot steel and sheet metal wall. Duffy's Cliff had been greatly reduced, although not completely leveled. Fenway Park had become the park we all know and love today. Next, Yawkey and Collins needed to renovate the roster. They went on a talent buying spree that brought 4 future Hall of Famers to the Red Sox. Catcher Rick Farrell was the first acquisition, later to be joined by pitcher Wes Farrell. They went on to become the best brother battery in baseball history. The next marquee name the Red Sox brought in was Lefty Grove from the Philadelphia Athletics. Grove had won 20 or more games in each of the 7 previous seasons. He was considered to be the best pitcher in baseball. After a 4th-place finish in 1934, Yawkey huddled with Washington Senators owner Clark Griffith. Yawkey decided he would send $250,000 and shortstop Lynn Larry to the Senators for player-manager Joe Cronin. This would have been an extraordinary deal by any definition. However, the fact that the 28-year-old slugging shortstop with Griffith's son-in-law made the deal even more intriguing. Another twist was added on opening day in 1935 when Cronin faced the man he had replaced as Red Sox manager, Bucky Harris, who was now managing Cronin's former Senators. With manager Cronin calling the shots and shortstop Cronin establishing himself as the best-hitting shortstop of his time, the Red Sox could only muster a 4th-place finish in 1935. Back to the drawing board they went. After another deal with Philadelphia's Connie Mack, Joe Cronin was able to write the name of Jimmy Fox, baseball's most feared slugger, into the lineup. In Fox, the Red Sox had the prototype right-handed slugger. He was destined to launch prodigious home runs over the wall in Tom Yawkey's renovated ball yard. It was expected that Fox would challenge Babe Ruth's record of 60 home runs in a season. Said a beaming Fox, "Brother, I'd have to have the eloquence of a politician to express my joy at coming to Boston. My dream has come true." Unfortunately, there was little to celebrate about the team for the remainder of the decade. But there was plenty to revel about with 4 Hall of Famers. Rick Farrell's .302 batting average is the highest career average of any Red Sox catcher. Lefty Grove had the best career of any American League left-handed pitcher. In his 8 seasons with the Red Sox, Grove notched 105 wins, with none more meaningful than his final one, career victory number 300 in 1941 at the age of 41. Jimmy Fox was one of the best power hitters ever. He finished his career with 534 home runs and was the first player after Babe Ruth to top the 500 home run mark. Double X had the greatest season ever by a Red Sox batter in 1938 when he batted .349, knocked in a team record 175 RBIs, and set another team record with 50 home runs. Joe Cronin, the player, averaged 310 seasons with the Red Sox, while manager Joe Cronin's 1,071 victories are the most in Red Sox history.
But Yawkey truly respected Joe's leadership. Besides his abilities at the bat and in the field, he looked at Cronin as a leader on the field. So it was Joe's leadership skills that Yawkey recognized in the early days, and then you can see his leadership skills were so good he became president of the American League.
And in a final footnote to the 1930s, Red Sox catcher turned coach Moe Berg became one of the most intriguing players ever to wear the Red Sox uniform. He was a player without any major or even minor accomplishments. However, the third-string catcher aroused suspicion when he got the high sign from the President of the United States.
In 1938, and we opened the season in Washington, and President Roosevelt was the president at that time. And Cronin says, "Do you mind taking some pictures here with my movie camera?" And when I was about ready to take a picture, I saw the president wave to Moe Berg with a sign of "Hi, Moe." And that sort of settled me that he knew something about Washington. And that was a sure cure for me, because when the president was waving, a little wave like this, you know, and "Hi, Moe." And I said, "Oh boy." He says, "Now, Charles, don't tell anybody." So I didn't tell anybody.
It turns out that the catcher was also a spy. During World War II, Berg infiltrated enemy lines to gather military intelligence for the United States. Berg was a Princeton-educated scholar of whom it was said, "Moe Berg can speak 7 languages, but can't hit in any of them." On March 3, 1938, the Red Sox signed 20-year-old Theodore Samuel Williams. He had been playing with his hometown San Diego Padres of the Pacific Coast League. At his first spring training, he took a riding from 3 veterans, Doc Kramer, Joe Vosmick, and Ben Chapman, outfielders from whom Williams was trying to take a job. When Williams was farmed out to the Sox top minor league team in Minneapolis, he left word for his tormentors, "I'll be back, and I'm going to make more money than all 3 of you put together." Ted Williams was cocky, and he was right. In 1939, Boston did not have a skyline, and Fenway Park did not have bullpens in right field. Then the kid came to town, for once and for all time. His teammates were immediately attracted to the sounds of him and Jimmy Fox taking batting practice.
They would ring off of there. It's the word they use. It used to ring. The sound was so good, you know, and you can hear guys take batting practice, you never hear a sound. But you hear these guys like Fox and Williams and those fellows, they were solid bangs.
Ted Williams' impact on the game was immediate. The rookie led the majors in runs batted in, and he was 3rd in home runs with 31. In 1940, Tom Yawkey had bullpens constructed in right field. The area became known as Williamsburg for the target practice it provided the young phenom. Every day presented him with an opportunity to perfect his science of hitting, and he worked, innovated, and tweaked it to a fare thee well.
We were in St. Louis. Ted says, "Geez, they sent bats to me here in St. Louis." He said, "I don't know why," but he said, and he had 2 bats there, and I went away for a minute or 2 outside, and I came back, and he's shaving off the handles, getting them to fit him, and all the shavings are on my bed. And I said, what in the world are you doing?" Then he got up to swing. You know, he's looking in the mirror. He did take a swing, and down goes my poster bed. He said, "Geez," he said, he wasn't worried about the bed. He says, "Call him, get another bed up here."
In 1941, when we went to the All-Star game, we were together. We were at the lobby of the Book Cadillac Hotel in Detroit, and Ted went up to Mr. Hilrick. He was the founder of the Bat Factory. He said, "Mr. Hilrick," he says, "I want some 32-ounce bats." And I can remember Mr. Hilrick throwing his hands up. He says, "Ted, you can't get good wood in 32 ounces. Well, and Ted says, "What good is wood if you can't handle it?" But Ted could handle a 35-ounce but what Ted's theory was, if he could take a 32-ounce bat and be that much quicker to hit every ball on the fat part of the bat, he was going to be better than taking a 35-ounce bat and maybe just missing on the fat part of the bat.
Quite often, I pitched batting practice to Ted because he felt that in Fenway Park, he saw very little left-hand pitching simply because of the short left field wall. And when we got on the road and they threw left-hand pitches at him, he felt he wasn't as sharp against them. So I threw batting practice against him, and we played under game conditions. I wouldn't tell him what I was going to throw him, and I was trying to figure him out, and I figured if I can figure Ted Williams out, heck, the rest of the guys ought to come easy.
The 1941 All-Star Game was held in Detroit. It would serve as Ted Williams' national coming-out party.
The American League was determined to win the All-Star Game. The players back then were determined to win the All-Star Game in the American League. My brother Joe hit this sharp ground ball to the shortstop and beat the throw to first base, which would have ended the game in the 9th inning. So Ted had an opportunity. He came to bat and faced Claude Passo. All of the manager, the coaches all went out, and in those days you could circle around the pitcher and discuss things. For the longest time they talked to Passo. Whatever they talked to this day, I'll never know. But I thought it was a question of whether they should put him on and pitch to me or was the next batter. And I was saying, well, it may be me, and I'll be up there. But they decided to pitch to Ted, and it was a bad mistake. So he hit the ball against the facade, and that was it. That was the ball game. I've never seen Ted more elated, jumping around first base.
Yes, hitting that home run in the All-Star Game in the 9th inning was certainly a big thrill, and I'll never forget the rest of my life.
Think about the summer of 1941. This is just before the end of innocence, you know. By December, we're going to be drawn into a world war that's going to kill 50 million human beings. But that summer, the kind of pleasures that they gave us, first the hitting streak, 56 games by DiMaggio. And then, miraculously, after that subsides, what comes up? Can somebody hit 400 again? Can they do it?
Entering a season-ending doubleheader in Philadelphia, Williams had a batting average of .3995, which rounds off to 400. Manager Cronin suggested to Williams that he sit out those last 2 games.
Ted's getting ready to go to bat in the first game of that doubleheader, and he's standing, there and grinding away at his bat as he was wont to do. The catcher, Frankie Hayes, said, "I just want you to know that Mr. Mack says if you're going to hit 400, you're going to have to earn it. But we're going to pitch to you."
He did play the first game, at any rate, and came up with 4 hits and put him over the 400 mark. Now, definitely, he did not have to go back and play the second game because there was nothing at stake at the time. The season was over. But he insisted on going back and playing the second game, and his feeling was that if he was going to hit 400, he was going to do it legitimately. And he went back and got 2 more hits and 3 times at bat and ended up with 406.
If I look back now, I'm glad that's the way it happened because they'd always say, well, he might not have done it if I had sat out. So yeah. As it turned out, I'm glad that I did play.
In 41, when Ted hit 406 and Joe hit in 56 straight games, that Joe was selected the most valuable. And I recall my brother Joe saying that if anything, they should have had 2. They should have had a tie. There should have been 2 most valuable player awards.
In the early 1940s, the Red Sox had a nucleus of Ted Williams, Bobby Doerr, Johnny Pesky, and Dom DiMaggio. Williams was the star, and in a hitting universe of his own, but he was surrounded by a great supporting cast. Bobby Doerr played his entire 14-year Major League career with the Red Sox. One of the best second basemen to ever play the game, he started 5 All-Star games and was the MVP of the 1943 Summer Classic.
Doerr singles to left in the American League 7.
My favorite hero really was not the Ted Williams, who we loved in those days too. For whatever reason it was, and I guess it was because I played second base, loved Bobby Doerr. And then later in life, to come to know Bobby as a person, his character and his personality really justified my affection for him because he's such a wonderful man.
In many ways, Dom DiMaggio was the unsung hero of the great Red Sox teams of the 1940s and 50s. He had a lifetime batting average of .298 and played in 7 All-Star games. In a 10-season period beginning in 1940, and not including the 3 seasons he would lose to World War II, no major leaguer had more hits than Dom DiMaggio, yet history has labeled him as a slick-fielding center fielder. But he was also much more than that.
Dominic DiMaggio belongs in the Hall of Fame. To me, Dominic DiMaggio was the perfect player. Never made a mistake, this guy. Wonderful, wonderful player.
Johnny Pesky was the first Red Sox player to have 3 200-hit seasons, a feat he accomplished in his first 3 years with the team. These young Red Sox were clearly on the verge of greatness, but the promise came to a halt when World War II broke out in 1941. Like everything else he did, Ted Williams' induction into the Navy was big news. Doctors had determined that his near-perfect vision occurred in only 6 out of every 100,000 people. Instead of using that eyesight in his pursuit to be the greatest hitter that ever lived, he served his country as a Marine fighter pilot. By 1943, Fenway Park could have been painted red, white, and blue. World War II was raging. Air raid alerts interrupted games. And Red Sox personnel, including Joe Cronin, did their part by sending mementos to the troops and assisting service baseball teams. It was not until 1946 when Teddy Ballgame and the rest of the Fighting Red Sox came marching home. It would prove to be a year to be remembered.
Fenway was packed again. Oh yeah, a lot of excitement all through baseball in '46. You know, with Greenberg back and the DiMaggio back and the great Yankees back all over the league and all. And the crowds were tremendous. Everybody was hungry for baseball again.
We came back and we went to ball games. It was what we did and loved them.
The 4 big wheels, Pesky, Dorr, DiMaggio, and Williams, returned to play behind a Big 4 pitching staff.
We had a kind of a Big 4 pitching staff for Tex Houston, Joe Dobson, Mickey Harris, and myself. And you were supposed to go 9 innings. If you didn't, you kind of felt bad about yourself. It's a different world now.
Boo Ferris won 25 games. Tex Houston, 20. Mickey Harris added 17. And Joe Dobson's 13 gave the starting staff a total of 75 wins.
We thought we had a good enough team, which it was. We had good pitching. We had Dave Ferris won 25 games. We had 4 guys with double figures.
We were scoring runs like guys trying to make a double play on us, and we were scoring from second base for tying, winning runs, stuff like that, you know, that it just seemed like we were just overly aggressive. Everything was going good.
I wanted to win 105 victories as our ultimate goal. We ended up 104.
Ted Williams returned from the war in fine form. In the 1946 All-Star Game in Boston, he hit 2 home runs. One was the first ever hit off Rip Sewell's eccentric eephus pitch. He also hit a home run that season that was so enormous that a red seat still marks its landing spot an astonishing 502 feet from home plate.
One of them balls that you hit hard, but you still get plenty of elevation to it. And that ball just kept going. And I remember it went up 38 rows in the right field. And I don't think a ball's ever been hit any further in right field since I've been here than 38 rows. And the reason I know it was the 38th row is because he took a picture of a fellow hit a guy in a straw hat up there and broke his straw hat.
In a desperate attempt to slow down the nearly unstoppable Williams, Cleveland Indians manager Lou Boudreau designed a shift, the Boudreau shift, that packed the right side of the field by leaving only a short left center fielder on the other side.
And I must admit that for a long time, I was a little stubborn about hitting the right field, and the left field, and why wouldn't I be? I'd been a .350 hitter for 12 years that way, and there was no reason to change.
We could have won the pennant at the end of August that year, but it took us 2 weeks to win one more game to clinch it for us, and the great Williams did that for us.
On a lucky Friday, September 13th, pitcher Tex Houston promised, "Get me a run and we'll win." And Williams did just that.
Ted hit a line drive. Of course, they shifted on Ted, but the left fielder wanted to make a shoestring catch. The ball got under his glove. It was an inside-the-park home run. Once those long legs got running, they were running pretty good.
Houston had his 1-0 victory, and the Red Sox clinched the 1946 American League pennant. In an exhibition tune-up for the World Series against a team of American League All-Stars, Ted Williams was plunked on the elbow. Williams hit a meager .200 in the World Series against the St. Louis Cardinals, including a rare bunt single against a version of the Boudreau shift, but he never used his hurt elbow as an excuse. Despite the underwhelming contribution from their star player, the Red Sox and the Cardinals went to a Game 7. In the top of the 8th, and the Red Sox trailing by 2 runs, Dom DiMaggio came to the plate.
He lines a base hit off the right center field wall over Slaughter's head for 2 bases, scoring Russell and Metkovich with the tying run.
So just as I rounded first base, I dug down for that extra burst of speed, which was the dumbest thing I could have done, and I pulled this hamstring muscle. And I barely got to second base. And we held up the game for the longest time, long time. I wanted to play, and Cronin said, "Dom, you can't."
With the score tied at 3 in the 8th inning, the Cardinals' Enos Country Slaughter singled. Harry the Hat Walker then drilled a hit to left center. Slaughter raced through the third base coach's stop sign and sprinted for the plate. He just barely beat the Red Sox relay throw home. It is a play that has been replayed by those who were there countless times since. In a play that has become part of World Series folklore, Slaughter was safe at home, and the Red Sox dreams for 1946 went up in a cloud of dust.
And that was the disheartening part of the whole thing. As you know, Slaughter made his famous run at the bottom of the 8th inning, and he would never have gotten that famous run of his in, and he's entitled to it, but it would never have happened had I been out there. Never. And he knows that.
In 1947, there were 2 off-the-field highlights. Fenway's first night game was played, and former Yankee boss Joe McCarty, the winningest manager in baseball history, succeeded Joe Cronin, who became Tom Yockey's new general manager. On the field, Ted Williams' performances at the plate were becoming legendary. He captured his second Triple Crown in 1947, but was denied the Most Valuable Player award as a Midwestern writer completely left Williams off his ballot. He lost the honor to the Yankees' DiMaggio by 1 voting point. Williams, who had previously penned his own column for a Boston daily, was a frequent target of the press. The slugger did not help himself by being brash and opinionated. In short, a newspaper writer's dream.
You have to understand that when Ted came to the Sox in the late 30s and the early 40s, there were like 8 newspapers in those days. You had morning and afternoon. You had all this competition going on. Everybody trying to get the story. In those days, it was all about newspapers. So a lot of it, you had a lot of misinformation, everybody trying to beat one another.
He did get ripped bad. I think that in those days, you know, you had all those little towns around there, and so many writers got after every ball game. My locker was like where those bats are, and Ted was right over there. And my gosh, these writers were, I mean, sometimes you wonder if you're going to get into your locker.
In 1948, a medium of a different kind, television, took the Red Sox into homes throughout Greater Boston. This was a season remembered for 1 extra game. The Red Sox and the Cleveland Indians tied for first and were forced to play at Fenway Park in the first American League playoff game. There was pregame uncertainty about the Red Sox starter. And there was a shock when Denny Galehouse, a veteran journeyman with a mediocre 8-7 record, took the mound.
Denny Galehouse had pitched well against Cleveland in our last road trip to Cleveland, and I think that's what Joe McCarthy had on his mind at that time, how well Denny pitched. But Denny, in all fairness to Denny, he was in the twilight of his career, and I think he was pretty much shocked when they went out on the field. He was out on the field shagging flies doing batting practice. They went out and got him off the field and brought him in, and when he was told that he was a pitcher, his face got kind of flushed, and I think it was quite a shock to him.
The Indians promptly jumped on the veteran right-hander. Indians player-manager Lou Boudreau thumped 2 home runs, and Cleveland coasted to an 8-3 win. The Indians won the pennant and spoiled a dream World Series matchup that would have had the Red Sox meeting the National League champion Boston Braves. The Red Sox bounded into the storied season of 1949, not knowing they would again be in one of the great pennant races of all time. They were led by 2 pitchers, left-hander and 25-game winner Mel Parnell, and right-hander and 23-game winner Ellis Kinder. The Red Sox went into Yankee Stadium needing 1 win in the season's final 2 games to clinch the pennant. Manager Joe McCarty's smile turned into a frown when Mel Parnell and the Red Sox lost 5-4 in the first game. For the climatic game, the Red Sox would start Ellis Kinder, who was later relieved by an exhausted Parnell.
Old Reliable connects solidly for a towering drive that's going, it's gone. Into the right field stands for a home run that sparks a winning Yankee rally.
The deciding game was a game that a little bloop was hit over the infield, and our right fielder, Al Zarilla, tried to make a catch on it. It was hit by Jerry Coleman, and it was just out of his reach. If he makes the catch, we win the ball game. But as things happen, and baseball being a game of inches, those inches went against us in that ball game.
Players go wild with joy.
We went into Yankee Stadium, one game on top and came out one behind.
Over 2 seasons, the Red Sox had the best record in baseball. But they also led the league in unused World Series tickets. Entering the 1950 season, Ted Williams became baseball's first $100,000 player, and he worked for his money, even remaining in the lineup when the Red Sox had a 25-run lead in the 9th inning. The slugger shattered his left elbow in the All-Star game in Chicago, ending his season. Utility man Billy Goodman replaced Williams and surprisingly led the American League with a .354 batting average. Still, the best player in baseball was out of the Red Sox lineup. Without him, the team made a run at the pennant, but by the time October leaves had fallen, so too had the Red Sox. They finished 4 games out of first place. No sooner had the 1952 season begun than it was time for Ted Williams to say goodbye. The Marines had activated Williams for a second tour of duty in Korea. Williams was visibly moved during a Fenway Park farewell. He was presented with a book from the Red Sox fans containing 430,000 signatures. A Williams home run in a Red Sox victory added a dramatic touch to an emotional day. Many thought it might have been the 33-year-old's last Major League at-bat. He flew 39 missions in Korea. One of them nearly cost him his life when his Panther jet plane was hit. He was forced to make a spectacular crash landing, but as always, Ted Williams was heroically safe at home. Old foe Lou Boudreau became the Red Sox manager in 1952. He launched a youth movement that saw Johnny Pesky traded to the Tigers. This marked a temporary hiatus for Pesky in a Red Sox uniform. Otherwise, for 7 decades, he has been associated with the team as a player, manager, broadcaster, and coach. Johnny Pesky is the only person to have a piece of Fenway Park. Pesky's pole, still named after him.
Bill Parnell started this, and I guess they were right. They were in between innings, and late in the ball game, I guess somebody hit a ball around the right field line. It's only 295 feet from home plate here at Fenway. And Mel, of course, he's doing the color, and he says, "Gee, Johnny used to hit a couple balls." And in fact, he says he won a game for me one day that 2-1 that he hit a home run around the pole, or 3-2, whatever. And he says we used to call it Pesky's pole, and it was kind of catchy.
Among the new kids was 22-year-old Jimmy Pearsall from Waterbury, Connecticut. While not an extraordinary ball player, Jimmy Pearsall was worth the price of admission. He was a pitcher's best friend, regarded as the Red Sox greatest defensive outfielder of the 1950s. He patrolled center field relentlessly and amazed with his acrobatic catches. Jimmy Pearsall was also a crowd favorite, an eccentric, outrageous ball player who could not resist attention.
I was pitching a ball game in Chicago one day, and I'm ready to go into my pitch, and I hear a big roar from right field. So when I heard that, I stopped my pitch, and I looked out to right field, and all I could see was number 37 on the back of the uniform. Pearsall's back was facing the infield. He's looking into the crowd, leading a locomotive with the crowd there, P-I-E-R-S-A-L-L, hooray, hooray, you know. And when Lou Boudreau at the time was the manager, and Lou Boudreau called time, and when Jimmy came in, he told Jimmy, he says, "Jimmy, if you do that again, you're gone." Well, a few weeks later, Jimmy did the same thing, but he wasn't gone.
The Jimmy Pearsall story was irresistible to Hollywood, especially the part where he suffered a nervous breakdown. So a movie was made based on Pearsall's autobiography called Fear Strikes Out, with actor Anthony Perkins cast in the lead role, Norma Moore as Pearsall's wife, and Bart Burns as Red Sox general manager Joe Cronin. By mid-1953, Ted Williams had returned to the Red Sox lineup and hit a home run in his second Fenway at-bat. He had also retained his outlandish knack for getting in the last word.
They had a little Washington ball player, pitcher down in Washington by the name of Ramos. And Ramos, who was a pretty good pitcher, good curveball pitcher, and he struck Ted Williams out. And he said to Ted, "Would you mind signing that ball for me?" And Ted said, "Of course not," and signed the ball for him. So a few weeks later, the Washington club came up to Boston. Ramos is pitching. And he hit one of his 450 shots out in right field in Boston. He says, "Hey, Ramos, if you find that son of a bee," he says, "I'll sign that one too."
The Red Sox struggled in the mid-1950s and were buoyed by the presence of fascinating individual players. In 1955, one of these was Lynn, Massachusetts native Harry Aganis, who previously had made his mark at Fenway Park as an All-American quarterback at Boston University. In fact, Aganis was the #1 draft choice of the Cleveland Browns and spurned an offer from them to join his hometown Red Sox.
I think he would have been a wonderful quarterback in the National Football League, and he was a triple threat. You know, he could do everything.
In his rookie year, the Golden Greek hit 11 home runs and entering his second season promised to hit 300.
Harry was a great talent. On a road trip, Harry was having trouble, and the doctor was sent along with us. And I talked with the doctor, and he told me, he says, "Mel," he says, "I'm afraid when Harry goes into the hospital, he won't be coming out again." And I understand. Mr. Yawkey told the doctor, he says, "Get him on a flight back to Boston immediately. And if you can't get a reservation for him, charter a plane, but get him back."
But on June 27, 1955, all of New England was stunned by the death of 25-year-old Harry Aganis. The prime of his life ended by a large blood clot.
We knew he was ill, you know, very ill and all, and it's just a sad day for us, you know, when you lose a teammate like that. So young in life and such a promising career ahead of him. You know, it was just tough on everybody.
In 1956, Mel Parnell pitched a no-hitter, the first for the Red Sox since Howard Emke's 33 years earlier. For Parnell, a previous 25-game winner and the winningest left-handed pitcher in Red Sox history, the no-hitter against the Chicago White Sox marked the peak of an exemplary career.
We get into the 9th inning with 2 men out, and Walt Dropo, a former teammate, was then with the White Sox, so Walt comes in to pinch hit. Walt hits a ball just to the left of the mound, and I come off the mound and catch the ball, and I continue running to first base to put out unassisted. When I get to first base, Mickey Vernon, our first base, says, "What's the matter, fella? You afraid to throw the ball to me?" I said, "Mickey, I have all the confidence in the world with you, but I'm afraid I might have thrown it away."
With his name in headlines, it's Mel Parnell, no-hit pitcher.
What Ted Williams accomplished in the next 2 years is truly astonishing. In 1957, he won the American League batting title with an average of .388, a mark that was not topped for 22 years. It was a remarkable feat made even more impressive by the fact that Ted Williams was 39 years old. Then in 1958, number 9 and his teammate number 3, first baseman Pete Runnels, engaged in a hitting duel.
Pete would get 3 hits, Ted would get 4. They went down the stretch fighting had a great relationship doing it, but for the American League Batting Championship. Pete get 2 hits, Ted get 3. Pete said, "How you gonna beat out that guy?" It was something to watch, it sure was.
Ted Williams finished at .328, 6 points higher than his teammate Runnels, becoming the oldest batting champion in history. The kid was now 40 years old. On paper, those 1958 Red Sox looked loaded. Outfielder Jackie Jensen was named American League Most Valuable Player.
Jackie doubles down the left field line to drive home 2
But even with Jensen and the American League batting leaders in the lineup, the Red Sox finished in 3rd place. On August 4th, 1959, Elijah Jerry Pumpsy Green, a second baseman, made history by being the first black man to wear a Red Sox uniform at Fenway Park.
Only thing I can really think of is when on my way to home plate was I didn't want to strike out, because then I was telling myself I'd have to walk all the way back to the dugout. So the first time up at Fenway Park in Boston, I tripled. I took a deep breath, and everybody in the ballpark stands up and gives me a standing ovation.
On August 10th, 1960, Ted Williams clouted home runs number 512 and 513, becoming baseball's 3rd leading home run hitter behind Jimmy Fox and Babe Ruth. He had also decided that the 1960 season would be his last. And saving the best for absolutely last, Ted Williams hit a home run on the final day of his career.
I remember the last time Williams was at bat. He hit 2 home runs. The first one, the umpire called foul. It went out of the ballpark fair, but it curved out in the foul territory. The umpire never thought of judging where that pitch went or was going when it left the ballpark, which was the fence or the wall barrier. So in other words, the theory, Williams had 2 home runs the last time at bat.
The ball that he hit was more on a line, and I'm sitting there, I'm standing there out in the bullpen, I'm watching this ball, and I'm thinking about, oh my God, what a way to go out.
Jack Fisher into his windup. Here's the pitch. Williams swings, and there's a long drive to deep right. That ball is going, and it is gone. A home run for Ted Williams in his last time at bat in the Major League.
The crowd roared as Williams started at first base. I said, and Williams has hit a home run in his last time at bat in the Major League. And John Updike, I think, wrote the greatest sports article I've ever read in the New Yorker magazine. He said, gods don't answer letters. And Williams never answered the fans' plea to come back and take a bow and tip his hat. What a way to go out. And Williams had the perfect way to quit and take the uniform off with his home run in his last time at bat.
In 1966, the coronation of Ted Williams was completed with his overwhelming induction into baseball's Hall of Fame.
Elected with Ted Williams with 282 votes, a percentage of 93.3. Ted was the only one elected.
His induction speech was one that was truly ahead of its time.
Baseball gives every American boy a chance to excel, not just to be as good as someone else, but to be better than someone else. This is the nature of man and the name of the game, and I've always been a very lucky guy to have worn a baseball uniform, to have struck out or to hit a tape measure home run. And I hope that someday the names of Satchel Paige and Josh Gibson in some way can be added as a symbol for the great Negro players that are not here only because they were not given a chance.
Because of Ted Williams, we began to look back at those Negro League teams and say, you know what, they deserve entry. And so as a result, in the years since Ted Williams' speech, the Hall of Fame has made a conscious effort to bring in some of those old Negro Leaguers. And that is a tremendous legacy to have, in addition to this unbelievable career.
The post-Williams Red Sox were hardly the most successful in team history. Between 1962 and 1966, the Red Sox, playing in the 10-team American League, finished 6th once, 8th twice, and 9th twice. However, those who cared enough about the team remember the era with great fondness and affection. On April 11th, 1961, playing before a sparse opening day crowd of just over 10,000, a 21-year-old rookie made his Major League debut. His name was Carl Yastrzemski, and he was only expected to fill the shoes of Ted Williams.
It was the toughest thing I had to face. It almost cost me my ability to make the big leagues. I would have liked to have come in unnoticed, being on all the covers of magazines as the next Ted Williams. When I came in, I completely changed my style.
In early June, Yastrzemski was batting just .215, so Tom Yawkey fetched Ted Williams back from a fishing trip off the coast of Florida. The next day, numbers 9 and 8 had a tutorial at Fenway, and by season's end, Yastrzemski had raised his average to .266. But Fenway fans were immediately expecting another star in left field, and the relationship rapidly deteriorated.
He hit a ground ball to second base and run about a third or two-thirds of the way down the line and stop and turn right. Wouldn't run through the base, and it wasn't that he was lazy, it was just that he was putting too much pressure on himself to be a better hitter, and when he wouldn't hit for a few days, it showed in his other play.
Do you realize afterwards that you maybe haven't run out a ball as hard as you could have, and then you say to yourself, why did I do that?
Yes, it's more of a mental thing, because usually you might be a little tired, say from having a cold, flu, and playing with a temperature or something like this, and then going 0 for 4, maybe making a fool out of yourself, it kind of irritates you. Then say we hit a little ground ball at second base, you're so irritated yourself, you just jog down or what have you. And it builds up for 2 or 3 days, and finally you say, what am I doing, what am I thinking of? And by the time you come out of it, you're 0 for 12, 0 for 13.
So this year we're going to try and eliminate some of that, eh?
We're definitely going to.
There were shining lights on those Red Sox teams, the brightest being Frank Malzone, a fixture at third base for 11 years. Malzone was a 3-time Gold Glove winner and a consistent batter who contributed 20 or more doubles for 7 consecutive seasons. For several years, the only rooting reason Red Sox fans had to tune into the All-Star game was to catch Frank Malzone in action. And he was there, representing the Red Sox an impressive 8 times. Pitcher Bill Monboquette gave the Red Sox a chance with every start he made. In May of 1961, the Medford, Massachusetts native struck out 17 Washington Senators, breaking Smokey Joe Wood's Red Sox single-game record and falling 1 short of Bob Feller's Major League record. And Pete Runnels finally got his batting titles, one in 1960, the other in 1962. On June 26, 1962, Earl Wilson blew down the Los Angeles Angels in a game at Fenway Park by a score of 2-0, and in the process pitched the Red Sox first no-hitter since Mel Parnell's in 1956. As if pitching a no-hitter were not a big enough feat on its own, Wilson also provided the only run he needed by hitting a solo home run. And just 5 weeks later, Bill Monboquette recorded another no-hitter, this one a 1-0 squeaker in Chicago. No-hitters notwithstanding, Red Sox fans did not mind it when their starters faltered, because that meant a call to the bullpen, where 6-foot 6-inch reliever Dick Raddatz resided. He was the most dominant relief pitcher of his time, and of the Red Sox 72 victories in 1963, Raddatz either saved or won 45.
Well, Raddatz was the most awesome relief pitcher that I ever saw. You know, it's not like 2 outs, you come in the 9th inning today. Dick Raddatz went 3 or 4 innings for a save, and he'd come back the next day and go 2 or 3 innings.
Raddatz was a Yankee killer, so dominant against them that their greatest star anointed him with a new nickname.
I had good luck against the Yankees, and Mantle especially. I faced him, I think, 63 times. I struck him out 47 times. He was the one that gave me the name The Monster. I struck him out with the bases loaded to end the ballgame in Yankee Stadium my rookie year, and as he was leaving home plate, Monster was one of the words he issued out. There was a lot of 4-letter words wrapped around it, but he yelled it so loud they heard him in the press box, and hence the name The Monster, and it's stuck to this day.
But regardless of his conquest, he ended each triumph with a signature salute.
I struck out Mantle, Maris, and Elston Howard on 10 pitches, and we won the game 2-1. And then when I did it, I threw my arms up in the air over my head, and I didn't realize I had done that. The next day, Kurt Gowdy, our great announcer, said, "Do you realize what you did last night?" I said, "Yeah, I struck out Mantle, Maris, and Elston Howard." He said, "No, that's not what I'm talking about." He said, "You threw your arms above your head." And he said, "I think the people took to that. They liked that." I didn't realize I had done it. He said, "Why don't you do it when you save a game at home?" He said, "I think the people like that, make it sort of your moniker." So I did. It was sort of my trademark. I think the people took to it. When I got traded to Cleveland, Bertie Tebbett said, "No more of this arm throwing."
Were it not for Raddatz and Carl Yastrzemski, who won his first American League batting championship, all hope would have been lost for the 1963 Red Sox. Fortunately, when they needed it the most, a local boy from Swampscott, Massachusetts stepped to the plate for his first at-bat at Fenway Park. Tony Conigliaro was 19 years old.
There's a drive by Conigliaro, and it is out of here. What a bomb he is. Conigliaro hits a home run, his first time at bat at Fenway Park.
This was just the beginning of the fairy tale script. Conigliaro hit 24 home runs that season, despite missing 6 weeks with an assortment of injuries. In 1965, his 32 home runs made him the youngest player ever to lead either league in home runs.
And he gets a tremendous hand. What a thrill that must be for a 19-year-old boy who a year ago was playing high school baseball. Look at that smile on his face.
I guess not. How about
When impressionable Red Sox fans needed a breath of fresh air, Tony C. provided it. He was Boston's baseball answer to the Beatles, a ball player who dabbled as a matinee idol.
I need you, I do, girl.
On a September afternoon in 1965, 22-year-old Dave Moorhead juggled a ball hit to him. Upon gaining control, he completed the Red Sox third no-hitter in 4 years.
I said to Tillman, "What are we going to throw? The count's 0-2. He says, "I'm not calling this pitch. You're calling this pitch. You're telling me what we're going to throw." So I said, "Man, we're going to throw a curveball low and in, and hopefully I'll chase it." And hit a ground ball back to me, and I dropped it and was going to run over to first base, and everybody started screaming, and it was back on the mound, so I had to run back and pick it up real quick, and I threw hurriedly to first and threw it in the dirt, and Lee Thomas thankfully scooped it out for the final out.
Because the 1965 Red Sox finished a whopping 40 games out of first place, the 1966 Red Sox were essentially playing before family and friends.
We had no one at the ballpark. I think the most we ever drew was like 800,000, 700,000, something like that, and it wasn't fun.
But in '66, the second half of the year, we started to turn it around. I think we played better than 500 ball. We had a marked improvement from '65. We only lost 99 games. But it was an improvement in the second half. Then they decided to make a managerial change. In '67, of course, Dick Williams came on the scene.
Dick, will you make a prediction for the 1967 Red Sox?
I honestly think we'll win more ball games than we lose.
Those were words spoken by brash rookie manager Dick Williams about the 1967 Red Sox, a team that was a 100-to-1 shot to be in the World Series. For this was the same team that the year before had barely escaped last place in the 10-team American League.
We were tired of losing. I mean, really tired of losing. We just wanted to do anything we could do to win games. Dick came with a real good attitude, an aggressive attitude. Made us understand that we had to do the little things, the bunting, the hit and run, not just the home run, you know, and get good pitching and defense. So if you made an error, I'll tell you, you heard about it.
Other than the hiring of Dick Williams as manager, the other crucial off-season move was made by Carl Yastrzemski, who underwent a rigorous workout regimen.
He decided he needed to get stronger. He lived in Linfield at the time. Gene Birdie was the trainer up at Colonial in Linfield. He went to the guy, and the guy worked him out all off season, made him bigger.
I almost walked out on him, but then my competitive nature said, I'm going to show this guy. And he just helped me tremendously. He put me in tremendous physical shape.
All of a sudden, he had greater bat speed. He could pull the ball, change his stance a little bit, and next year he had 44 home runs.
No-nonsense manager Williams took to umpiring spring training intra-squad games. He was clearly in charge.
Dick Williams came in and really changed the atmosphere. You know, as he's been quoted as saying, he was the only chief and everybody else were the Indians.
Very high toward the flagpole area. Unser back, looking up, it is gone. Home run.
But what nobody anticipated is that Carl Yastrzemski had undergone a transformation from a struggling rookie to a good player. Until in 1967, he became Captain Carl, a baseball superman.
We went down to Yankee Stadium. Whitey Ford is pitching, making his 432nd Major League start, and Rohr is making his first.
Red Sox bench. Bill Rohr.
In the ninth inning, Tom Tresh led off, and he hit a fly ball to left field, and Yaz made one of the greatest catches that I've ever seen, and I said so.
Rohr winds. Here it comes. Fly ball to deep left. Yastrzemski is going hard, way back, and he dives and makes a tremendous catch.
That catch saved Billy Rohr's bid for a no-hitter in his Major League debut.
When I was running back, my back was completely at home plate. I never really saw the ball until the last split second over my shoulder, and how I caught it, I really don't know. And I knew I wanted to save the no-hitter. And as I dove and caught the ball, it's the only thing that I thought about saving the no-hitter for Bill Rohr.
I was aware of what was going on, and then when Carl made that unbelievable catch in the ninth inning, that really just kind of put an exclamation point on what was going on.
With Rohr 1 out away from a no-hitter, Yankees catcher Elston Howard came to the plate.
Base hit.
I've been haunted, I suppose, if that's the right word, for 3 decades now about that, but I do recall Elston getting to first base, and the Yankee fans were vocal in their displeasure, and the fans were throwing those rented cushions, and they were throwing paper cups. Elston Howard, I think, said that that's the first time he'd ever gotten a hit in Yankee Stadium and got booed for the trouble.
Popped up, Conigliaro, plenty of room.
makes the play. The ball game's over.
Rohr's one-hitter was the first flicker signaling that 1967 was going to be a different year. With the emergence of several young players, including George Scott, New England became captivated by the team and began dreaming the impossible.
We decided we would make a recording, an audio recording, and a television show. And this is how it began. This is truly a love story, an affair twixt a town and a team.
A town that had waited and waited for what seemed
an impossible dream.
Due to its penchant for late-game wins, the team became known as the Cardiac Kids.
And the Red Sox have won it in 15 innings. The Red Sox pull it out 11-10 and go into a tie for first place in the American League as Jose Tarnabul is mobbed by his teammates going off.
They were becoming known as a fighting ball club, and one night in New York, they proved it.
I was pitching in a ball game that Thad Tillotson was pitching in also. The night before, Joe Foy had hit a grand slam to win a ball game. So he comes up in this particular game the next day, the next night, and he leads off with a 3-run home run. So his second time at bat, Tillotson is still in the ball game, and he throws at Joe once and misses him, throws at him twice and misses him, and finally hits him with a third fastball in the helmet.
Joe Foy.
Jim Lomborg was a gentleman and still is a gentleman. But the funny thing happens to Jim Lomborg. When he goes between those foul lines, his whole personality changes. He is no longer a gentleman. He is nasty.
I think most everybody on our team knew what was going to happen. And the first pitch that I threw, I aimed for just underneath his elbow towards the small of his back. And it went where I aimed it, and I hit him.
Whoa.
And so he's walking down first base, and he's jawing at me, and I'm jawing at him. But all of a sudden, the players are coming out of the dugout a little bit, and Rico, he starts jawing with Joe Pepitone.
Bang, everybody went at it. I ended up in the bottom of the pile. Next thing I know, I hear a voice. Where's my brother? Where's my brother? My brother was a security guard there right at the dugout. They used to put him there when we came in because, you know, be close to him. And I said, what the heck is that? It's my brother Dave. And Dave, I said, here I am. I'm okay. Everything's okay. He was like getting guys off me. And jeez, Dave, take it easy. And next time we came into Yankee Stadium, everybody's looking for my brother. And we looked up in the third deck, way out in left field. He's up there waving. It was incredible. They wanted to make sure there was no more fights and no more Dave going on the field.
Red Sox fever became an epidemic throughout New England, and after a 10-game winning streak, the returning team was welcomed by a crowd of 10,000 people at Logan Airport.
We're on the flight. We're starting to descend and getting close to Logan Airport in Boston, and the captain gets on. He said, fellas, we have I guess a little problem here. He said, originally we were going to go to the gate, park at the gate, and you guys would get out. But I got to let you know there's 15,000 people at the airport waiting for you.
It seemed like 100,000 people. We hadn't seen anything like it, but when we came back after that winning streak on a road, that told us that we were as good as anybody else in the American League at that time, and that kind of gave us the confidence for the pennant drive.
The Red Sox were in a 4-team pennant race, but thoughts that they were a most improbable team of destiny reached its peak one afternoon in Chicago. Former nemesis Elston Howard had been acquired from the Yankees for the storybook pennant drive, and it was he who was on the receiving end of a throw from the unlikely arm of weak-throwing Jose Tarnabul.
He couldn't break a pane of glass from 80 feet, let alone throwing somebody out from 250 feet. But that's the things that happen. Everybody contributes.
There's a drive into right field, caught by Tarnabul. Runner tags. Here's the throw home, and he is out at the plate. He is out at home.
To me, and with all due respect to Jose and his effort, the real play was made by Elston Howard at home plate, because Ellie had to jump for the throw. He actually literally jumped up, caught the ball one-handed with the catcher's mitt, came down and made a swipe tag on Barry to get him at the plate, which was which was just one of those plays that we'll never forget.
The '67 Sox got help on the mound from a previously untapped source named Gentleman Jim Lonborg, who pitched his way to one win after another, 22 in all.
But Lonborg had that tailing fastball in the 90s, middle 90s. I mean, but what he had was the real intimidator was the curveball. He would throw right at right-handed hitters, and the guys would buckle or go back, and the ball would go right over the plate and strike out a lot of guys that way.
Breaking ball got him.
Tony Conigliaro was entering his prime. Now at the age of 22, he became the youngest player in American League history to reach the 100 home run mark. And comparisons were being made to the greats of the game, including Willie Mays. And then on August 18, 1967, tragedy struck. A fastball from the Angels' Jack Hamilton sent Conigliaro down. Rico Petrocelli was the first to his side.
I ran out there and I saw his face, just if you're blowing up a balloon, just like that, swell up, blood was going through it. I said, oh my God. So naturally they called the trainer, they called the doctor. Doctor came out of the stands, rushed to his side, and I said to myself, this has got to be something permanent. The players, all of us, we were angry. We were just angry that this happened. Certainly to a young guy, to one of the important guys of our team, to a friend. You know, we didn't know right away, but we figured we lost him for the rest of the season, and we did. And he was just such a great hitter.
But this was a team that hopped on the shoulders of its captain Carl, and Yaz played like a Superman.
Home run, number 41 for Yastrzemski. And there's been a double play. Well hit to left. And that's going to be a great catch by Yastrzemski.
It just seemed that I was in that zone, which usually only happens for a couple of weeks. You get a hot streak and stuff like that. To keep it for that length of time really surprised me.
Everything he did really meant something. Get a base hit, put us ahead, home run, 3-run home run to put us ahead, to win the ball game, make a throw from left field to throw somebody out at second or at home. I mean, he just constantly did it all year, all year.
Somebody came to him when Yaz was having his great thrust and leading the team. And John Connolly, a news writer, who was a wonderful guy, came to me and he said, I've got this, my wife and I worked out this tune, and Handel's Messiah. He said, would you do it? So I did it on the air.
Carl Yastrzemski, what power he has. Our Boston team is always on the beam, 'cause we got Yaz.
Yastrzemski was never better than in a season-ending two-game showdown against the Minnesota Twins, in which the Red Sox needed to win both to keep their impossible dream alive. His 44th home run sealed the first of two wins the Red Sox needed.
Yaz was on his tear, just hitting everything that came even close to the plate. And for us to win that ball game was pretty exciting because now we had to start thinking about getting ready for the next day.
All right, now we go into the last day. Now this is pressure. It's like the 7th game of the World Series.
It was exciting. It was as exciting as it can get. You know, our backs were to the wall. We were playing a very, very tough Minnesota team, and we had to win the last game.
The pennant hopes of the Red Sox, Twins and Tigers were alive. Jim Lonborg was on the mound for the Red Sox, who were trailing 2-0 when he came to the plate in the 6th inning.
When I was at on the on-deck circle, I can remember walking up as the leadoff hitter to home plate and looking down to see Zoyo, I think it was Cesar Tovar at third base, and seeing that he was playing back just a little bit, and I said, let's give it a shot.
Good bunt, and he can't play it.
When Jim Lonborg led the inning off, the 5th or 6th inning or whatever, with a bunt single, that was what 67 was all about.
A bunt single for Lonborg to lead off the 6th inning.
This all happened on successive pitches. I got the bunt hit on Chance's first pitch. I think Adair got the single, moved me to second. Dalton Jones got the next hit. I couldn't score, bases loaded. Yaz comes up.
There's Cal Irmer in the Twins bench. tight and tense, looking at the action.
In that crucial season-ending series, Yastrzemski came to the plate 8 times and cranked out 7 hits, including a 2-run single that tied the game.
Base hit to center. Lundborg scores. Adair will score. It's tied up.
The opponents never really believed he was doing what he was doing. They just refused to really pitch around him, and they kept coming after him, and Yaz beat him time and time again.
Yaz will go to second. A run will score. There it goes, gets away. A run will score. 4-2. 1 out, 2 on. Killebrew has it knocked off his leg. That'll be another run.
And before long, we had a 5-2 lead, which was all I needed.
The Red Sox took a 5-2 lead into the 9th inning, and then the 1967 season, which began in solitude, ended in bedlam.
Little soft pop-up. Petrocelli will take it. He does. The ball game is over. The Red Sox win it.
I saw that thing go up there, and I said, "Oh, baby, that wasn't too high," you know. I said, "Come on down to Papa." Went in my glove, and I squeezed that, and just elated. I mean, then there was pandemonium on the field.
And what a mob on this field. Arizona Tarmyaki. And what excitement we have here at Fenway Park.
It was something that I think that every kid ever growing up when I was playing baseball wanted to be part of. To be a winning pitcher and to be carried off of a field by the happy fans. And I've heard so many great stories afterwards about, you know, people have said they've got, you know, shreds of my shirt, and for all the shreds of my shirt that people have, you know, I must have been a size 56 because they just ripped off my whole undershirt. Shoelaces were gone, belt was gone, hat was gone, but it was still, you know, looking back on it, just a moment of a lifetime.
At that point, again, we were just so excited. We knew one of 2 things was going to happen. Either we were going to have a playoff game with Detroit, or we were going to the World Series.
We had to wait around for about an hour and a half, I think it was, to wait to find out the results of the Detroit California Angel game. Once we found out that the Angels had won, I think Dick McAuliffe hit into a double play to end up that game. The first double play he had hit into the whole summer. And when that was over and things had quieted down, I took the ball up. I asked the clubhouse man, like I said, I'd like to take this ball up to Mr. Yockey. And Mr. Yockey was there, and I told him I wanted him to have this game ball because it was something he waited a long time for.
It was a glorious season, one in which Carl Yastrzemski was voted most valuable player and became the last player in Major League Baseball to win baseball's Triple Crown. And Jim Longborg captured the Cy Young Award before pitching heroically in the World Series against the St. Louis Cardinals. And although the Cardinals won the series in 7 games, the 1967 season will be forever remembered as the year of the impossible dream. And more importantly, the year that rejuvenated the Boston Red Sox. 2 days after Christmas in 1967, Jim Longborg tore 2 ligaments in his left knee while skiing. Despite the laugh he and Carl Yastrzemski shared about the matter, the Red Sox prospects for 1968 had been severely diminished. The saving grace that season was provided by Ken Hawk Harrelson, who became the storyline in the Year of the Hawk. The colorful Harrelson took New England by storm. He belted 35 home runs and led the majors in both RBIs and sartorial flamboyance.
I think he had at least 30 Nehru suits. One for each day of the month, you know.
Kenny, when he bought something, you know, he'd have them deliver it to the clubhouse. But he didn't buy 1 suit. He might have bought 50 suits. And here come the boxes of suits into the clubhouse.
Kenny was he's just a great guy to have on a ball club. People look at him sometimes and say, well, he was the Hawk, he had his narrow suits, he was doing all this stuff. But Ken Harrelson, as people found out later when he became a broadcaster, is very knowledgeable of baseball and very much into baseball.
I always put myself in two different personalities. Anyway, there's Ken Harrelson and there's a Hawk. And I remember a lot of times that I would be on the on-deck circle, you know, in a big ball game, especially going down in that pennant stretch in '67, and I'd say, all right, Kenny, get out of the Hawk's way and let him go.
There she goes as it got the legs. We'll see. It is gone for a home run. The Hawk.
Ken Harrelson was named the American League Player of the Year in November of 1968. 5 months later, the Boston sports team was turned upside down when the Hawk was traded to the Cleveland Indians. While his devastated fans protested at Fenway Park, a shocked Hawk paid a visit to general manager Dick O'Connell.
The next day, I snuck into the ballpark because there's so many people out there. You know, I put a disguise on and came in and snuck up to his offices. And I told him, I said, Richard, I said, you made yourself a hell of a trade. I said, there's only one problem. I'm not going. You know?
After retiring for a few days, Harrelson recanted and reported to the Indians, ending the Year of the Hawk. Tony Conigliaro sat out the entire 1968 season to return on opening day of 1969. He celebrated his return with a dramatic 10th inning at-bat.
Drive to left center, Blair's back, and it is home run for Conigliaro.
Eye specialists had regarded Tony C's comeback as a near miracle, and the return was made even more emotional by the greeting he received from his brother Billy, number 4, a Red Sox rookie, and the kiss he received from no-nonsense manager Dick Williams.
What a story here.
19 more home runs later, Tony Conigliaro was a hands-down selection as American League Comeback Player of the Year. He bettered that in 1970 when he reached career highs with 36 home runs and 116 RBIs, only to be traded at year's end to the California Angels. Meanwhile, another Red Sox player was embarking on an extraordinary career year. Rico Petrocelli, who had never totaled more than 18 home runs in a season, launched 40 out of American League ballparks, setting an American League record for a shortstop that lasted for 29 years. And then a breath of fresh air from out of New Hampshire, Carlton Fisk, who became the first unanimous choice for American League Rookie of the Year. The 24-year-old not only established himself as a take-charge guy behind the plate, but he also hit with authority. Nobody knew it in 1972, but in a career that would span 21 years, Carlton Fisk would play more games and hit more home runs than any catcher in Major League Baseball history, with one of those home runs being the most famous in the history of the game. Fenway Park was buzzing at the start of the 1975 season as Tony Conigliaro was returning to the Red Sox. He had been forced to retire because of his recurring eye problems in 1970. And now, 3.5 years later, he was doing what Tony Conigliaro did best, making a comeback and hitting home runs. But in the end, the vision problems were too overwhelming, and within weeks, Tony Conigliaro, who overcame more adversity than any person should by the age of 30, retired for good.
A healthy, functioning Tony Conigliaro would have hit at least 500 and possibly 600 home runs in his career. He was truly and utterly made for Fenway Park. He's the fastest guy to reach 100. We know that in the history of baseball. And this is the ballpark. This was the blissful convergence of talent and location for a right-hand power hitter.
And there's a fly ball to center field, and
For the remainder of the season, the Red Sox depended on two rookies, known as the Gold Dust Twins, 23-year-old Fred Lynn and 22-year-old Jim Rice.
75, we got two young guys that made the club out of spring training, Fred Lynn and Jim Rice. And well, you know, you didn't know what to expect. They had some talent, but rookies, you figure, well, they're probably going to struggle. Well, it was incredible from day one.
On a June night in Detroit, Lynn sent out word that this was going to be one magical year.
At Tiger Stadium, and Fred Lynn hits his second home run in as many innings, a 3-run homer, and the Red Sox lead it 7-0. 2 homers, a triple, and an infield hit. There's a line drive to right field. Let's go! 3 homers in the upper deck. Freddie Lynn. 10 runs batted in.
That 3-home run, 10 RBI night was just the beginning of Fred Lynn's golden touch. That season, Lynn did it all with his bat and his glove.
A fly ball to left center field. Lynn giving it a good run over there, and he makes a wonderful catch. What a catch by Fred Lynn.
His numbers, a .331 batting average, 21 home runs, and 105 RBIs were stunning and very unexpected. He became the first and only player to ever win the Rookie of the Year and the Most Valuable Player awards in the same season.
That looks like a sure bet to drop in for a base hit, but
The more highly touted Rice posted numbers that were almost as impressive as Lynn's, a .309 batting average, 102 RBIs, and 22 home runs.
here's a drive out to left field, and it's gone. Home run for Jim Rice.
There was an energy that only a mixture of individuals like we had could create. A couple of young kids that were great, Lynn and Rice. Some old heads that were like Yaz and Tiant. A fiery shortstop like Burleson. And a catcher that was maturing like Fisk.
And the Red Sox have reduced the magic number to 3.
Everyone contributed. Reggie Cleveland had some outstanding games, big wins. Lee won 17. I think Tian won 18. I won 19. Roger Moret was 10-1. Willoughby was outstanding. I mean, it just on and on. Yaz, Evans. Every day, it was someone else.
It's in time. They've got him, and Dwight Evans has thrown out Gary Sutherland trying to score.
A crucial doubleheader sweep of the Yankees ended with third baseman Bobby Heiss spiking the ball. The Red Sox cruised through the remainder of the regular season and won the American League pennant. But in the closing weeks of the season, Jim Rice was hit by a pitch. His broken left hand would keep him off the playoff roster.
Ball just runs right into him.
In the American League Championship Series, the Red Sox leaned on 36-year-old Carl Yastrzemski to show them the way against the Oakland Athletics. He hit for power.
Just makes him think a little bit more about it. There's a high drive, left field, going back, looking up, goodbye.
And fielded with prowess. Remarkable considering that he had been a first baseman during the year, only to return to left after Jim Rice's injury. The A's bewildered Reggie Jackson was a victim of vintage Yaz.
Lines at mid. Yastrzemski throws to second. Here comes Jackson. Here comes the throw. He's out. Paul Yastrzemski.
He said, "How did you do that?" That's exactly what he said. He was surprised, totally surprised, because of the distance that Yaz had to go to get
Here
that ball.
comes Jackson. Here comes the throw. He's out.
I was coming in from left field, and he was getting up, walking towards the dugout. And I said, Reggie, you know better than run on me.
And a bounding ball, second base. Doyle throws to first. It's over. It's over.
We had to beat the two-time world champion Oakland Athletics. Not many people were giving us much of a chance. We swept them 3-0, and that gave us impetus to go into the World Series against the big red machine. And there again, no one gave us a chance against them either.
This is a great, powerful team, clearly favored in the series. And when the series started, no one knew we were going to be that we were on the doorstep of history, but we were.
The Red Sox countered with a pitching contortionist named Louis Tiant, one of the most beloved athletes in Boston sports history. El Tiante was a fan favorite.
I'm walking from the bullpen to the dugout. Everybody stand up, and Louis and clap at you. Man, you get chill, and you're looking around, and I say, hey, I have to go there and give it 2,000%.
In Game 1 of the 1975 World Series, Tiant, who was not accustomed to batting in the designated hitting American League, jump-started the Red Sox with a carefree and nonchalant romp around the bases.
And the throw to second is in the dirt. Into center field. Tiant will hold it second. Play him more straight away to the outfield. And here's a line drive, right field, coming on Griffey. It's a hit. Tion coming in. Here comes the throw, cut off by Perez.
Oh, Johnny wanted it to go through. He missed the plate. I didn't see him touch.
I go into second base, I almost broke my neck. Then I go home play. I'm missing. Really well. I'm missing the home play. I know I'm missing, and then Phil told me, "You're missing the play." I said, "I know." And then I heard Johnny bench telling the first base, "Give me the ball, give me the ball." I just go there, you know, making my swing move to the home plate and touching the home plate.
El Tiante, he was, you know, for one of the funniest human beings, and certainly one of the funniest baseball players I've ever been around, but one of the fiercest competitors and the best pitchers of that era. One of the best money pitchers that I've ever seen. He needed a win. He gave the ball to Louis, and usually you won.
Raw day. And Petrocelli gloves it. A throw in time. And the Red Sox have drawn first blood in the 1975 World Series. Louis Tion spins a 5-hit shutout to give the Sox...
The Reds won the second game. In Game 3 in Cincinnati, the Red Sox' Carlton Fisk, Bernie Carbo, and Dwight Evans set the stage for their own roles in a series that was becoming great theater.
Homecoming of sorts, and he hits one well back into left field. Foster looking, and it's out of here.
That's a typical Carbo home run to the opposite field.
For the series, but he has not thrown tonight. Here's a fly ball hit into left field. Foster back on the warning track, and he will not get it. It's a home run in a tie ball game. Raleigh Eastwick has just given up a game-tying ninth-inning home run to Dwight Evans. As the Red Sox dugout erupts, they have tied it up at 5-all.
Controversy erupted when the Reds' Ed Armbruster came to bat in the 10th inning.
Tried the winning run. Throw to second. High. By Carlton Fisk over to third. Safe.
We are going to have
down at second.
We're going to have an argument. They may reverse this decision.
Red Sox are arguing interference at the plate.
They are saying that a batter, after bunting, interfered with Carlton Fisk, the catcher, in fair territory.
Fisk makes contact with him, gets the ball, is able to throw to second base, but it's a high throw, and the ball goes into center field. They come around and score, and then everybody's calling and screaming out, actually. Darryl Johnson came out, the manager, and was arguing the play and thought it was interference. You know, you got to get out of the way. You can't obstruct the catcher from throwing. You don't win too many of these arguments, and we didn't in that one.
The Reds won and were up 2-1.
Johnson right now. It just doesn't happen. This man.
Louis Tion came to the rescue in Game 4. Depleted of his normal pitching arsenal, he outwitted the Reds in a complete game 163-pitch performance.
Struck him out. Decoyed inside, went to the outside corner. That ends it. But at the end of 4, it's Boston.
The World Series was tied at 2 games apiece. After the Reds won Game 5, it rained long and hard enough in Boston to force the postponement of the 6th game. The delay gave Louis Tion a chance to start in the game that had more twists and turns than his corkscrew delivery.
Now you think he's coming at you? Look at that, straight up in the air. Amazing body control.
There is not a more important or better World Series game than the 6th game of the 1975 World Series. That was a more drama than I think anyone could ever contain in one baseball game.
The thing is, we had to win that game, or else it's all over. So, you know, we were under the pressure to do the job, score runs, and make the plays.
Fred Lynn got the Red Sox rolling in the 1st inning.
And there's a high fly ball deep to right field. Going back, Griffey, forget it. It's gone.
In the 5th, the cheers for Lynn had turned into deafening silence after he crashed heavily into Fenway's then unpadded center field wall.
Deep to center field. Lynn going way back, and he can't make the play. It's off the wall. And Freddie Lynn is hurt. He must have hit his head against that wall, and he is really shaken up.
After what seemed an eternity, Lynn was able to pull himself up and stay in the game.
Amazing effort. He's going to stay in.
With the Reds ahead 6-3 and only 4 outs away from winning the World Series, pinch hitter Bernie Carpel, who had hit a home run in Game 3, came to the plate.
I think Freddie Lynn was on second base. I had walked. And you're saying, all right, Bernie, come on, get a hit. Let's inch up a little bit on this club. Maybe we can do something, tie it up. First swing, bad swing, terrible swing. Boy, I tell you. I mean, Bernie looked like he was, I don't know, riding on a pig, I mean, he was like this and whoop. I don't know what that's like, but then the second one was just as bad. I was saying, geez, Bernie, come on, wait on Eastwick. He had good stuff. And then the next pitch, it was a mistake. He got it out over the plate and bang!
Deep center field, way back, we're tied up.
In the bottom of the 9th inning with the bases loaded and no outs, the Red Sox were ready to send the series to Game 7.
Here it is. High fly ball, left field. Foster's got a shot. They're tagging up at third. Here comes the throw. It is in time. Doyle is out. Foster to bench.
The question remains, what made Denny Doyle run?
What I hear, I usually react on what I hear. What I heard was go. Of course, they go to Zim, and Zim says, hey, I said no. And so there goes the no and the go. And when it boils down to that, Zim has to be the right one. He's the authority. He's the authority, and if he says he said it a certain way, then that's the way it was as far as I'm concerned.
The Red Sox life in this World Series flashed before their eyes in the time that it took the Reds' Joe Morgan to rocket one to right field.
Evans is going back near the wall, and oh, what a catch he made! What a catch by Dwight Evans, and it's a double play.
I'm not sure still to this day how Dwight made that catch. And when Dwight made the play, it was like, wow, boy, there is something special about this game. There is something going on in this World Series.
In the 9th inning of that game, Pete Rose, who was playing third for Cincinnati, turned to the third base umpire and said, you know how lucky we are? He said, this is the greatest game I've ever played in. I've never seen such catches. They were, fantastic catches. And Carbo came up and hit the pinch hit homer to tie the game. There were dramatics from the first inning on. It was a great game. Now it rolls down into the 12th inning, and Carlton Fisk came up.
And then at 12:33 a.m., in the 12th inning, and with the score tied at 6, Carlton Fisk, the son of New England, strode to the plate.
When I went on the on-deck circle, Fred Lynn was there with me. I said, Freddie, something good's going to happen here. So I took that thought, that good, positive feeling for the moment, up to the plate, and
This home run went out and just reverberated. The church bells rang in New England towns all across this beautiful region, The organist at Fenway Park went into Handel's Messiah. It was the Hallelujah chorus. It was an amazing moment, and we remember these things.
To be down and have Carbo take the check swing, bad swing, and then hit the 3-run homer to tie the game, and then Fisk, of course, winning it in the 12th. I mean, it was a pretty magical situation.
We will have a 7th game in this 1975 World Series.
Then when Fisk hit the home run, I thought the next day it was impossible for us to lose.
But baseball is a most perplexing sport. Joe Morgan's solid blast was a long out in Game 6. But one night later, his flailing, broken bat single in the 9th inning determined the outcome of the 1975 World Series.
Geronimo's under, and Cincinnati has won the World Championship.
The last 3 World Series appearances by the Boston Red Sox had all gone the maximum 7 games, a point that author John Updike refers to as the edge of total victory. In 1946 and again in 1967, the Red Sox went the distance against the St. Louis Cardinals. But nothing to this point had the thrills, chills, and drama, and for Red Sox fans, disappointment of the 1975 World Series that provided some of the greatest moments in not just baseball history, but in all American sports history. During the 1975 World Series, Red Sox owner Thomas A. Yawkey was clearly on a roller coaster ride of emotions as he desperately sought the world championship he had longed for since purchasing the Red Sox. However, in July of 1976, Tom Yawkey passed away. With his wife Jean accepting his enshrinement in the Baseball Hall of Fame, his was a legacy that transcended the game.
Have an owner like Mr. Yawkey and fellows like Mr. Harrington and the Duquettes and all the people were generous in more ways than one.
I was treated like one of the family by Mr. and Mrs. Yawkey, who acted pretty much like a mother and father to all of us on the ball club.
So he was an honest man, a good person, you know, for us, and he took care of the player very well.
I love the game as well as anybody, and his big thing was to win a World Series. I wish we could have done it for him.
Tom Yawkey had transformed the Boston Red Sox franchise from one of the weakest in the major leagues to one of the healthiest. In the process, he created a New England institution.
They put everything into the Red Sox, never took anything out, and still are not taking anything. They're leaving all of this huge value of this franchise for the benefit of the people through their family foundation. And the people, through the local charities, are going to benefit forever from the generosity of the Yawkeys.
I'm sure that there is no other sports franchise in the history of sport that has had the impact that the Boston Red Sox have given to the fight against cancer and to a single institution like the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute as they have. And the impact that the Yawkeys and the Red Sox have had on that institution, I have to think in the long run that will be the greatest legacy that the Yawkeys have left behind, that they were possibly and the foundation that really brought cancer to its knees as far as the Dana-Farber's support of that.
Tom and Gene Yawkey's initials are indelibly etched in Morse code on Fenway Park's left field scoreboard. For it was they who saw to it that the franchise's trademark would be stability, class, and commitment. Prior to Tom Yawkey's death, the irrepressible Carl Yastrzemski put on a 2-day hitting display that equals the greatest power surges in baseball history by belting 5 home runs in 2 games in 2 different cities, Detroit and New York.
Right field, back goes Munson. Get over! All right!
Perhaps the most lasting image from 1976 was from a May evening in Yankee Stadium when the rivalry and the tempers ran hot. The rivalry was one serious matter.
Here comes the runner, here comes the throw, and let's see, he holds on to it. Does he hold on to it? And they have a fight. And they go for and miss. And the bench is empty.
I don't think any of us realized how special that rivalry was. It wasn't so much the people against the people, it was the uniform against the uniform. And because those people were in that uniform, then the focus was against them. Munson and I were probably were the lead dogs in that rivalry, I think.
Anytime there is a mix-up of bodies at either a base or home plate, some things are going to happen eventually. And of course, you know, Nettles was never a real fan of Bill Lee's.
Bill Lee is now going over to a couple of the Yankees, and there they go again. Mickey Rivers is the guy that's trying to hit everybody with a sucker punch.
And the thing that I remember the most about it was the crunch when Lee went down.
The brawl took its toll. Southpaw starter and Yankee killer Bill Lee separated his pitching shoulder and did not return until September that season. Once again, the battle lines with the Yankees had been drawn.
Things have gotten out of hand here at Yankee Stadium.
The Red Sox have traditionally been a team for and about sluggers, with the 1977 squad being the most prolific. They belted them often and set a team record with 213 home runs. They belted them long. Carl Yastrzemski became the only player to ever hit the right field facade.
It is a home run. The only question was, would it stay fair or go foul?
The lineup consisted of 5 players who hit 26 or more round triples, led by American League home run champion Jim Rice's 39.
There it goes, way out of here. A grand slam home run.
Fan favorite George Boomer Scott added 33 of his self-named taters.
Here's another deep drive, way back, it's gone.
And both Carl Yastrzemski and Carlton Fisk threatened the 30 mark.
Lescano is back, way back, and it's gone.
Incredibly, the 9th batter in the order, Butch Hobson, did hit 30 home runs.
Following the throw. There's deep drive, forget it. And it's into the screen for a 2-run homer for Butch Hobson.
On the 4th of July, the Red Sox set a team record by hitting 8 home runs in one game.
There it goes, number 4. This is number 4 this inning.
Confident in the team's slugging ability, the Red Sox added 2 top-of-the-rotation starters for the 1978 season. World Series hero Mike Torres defected from the Yankees, and the Sox sent 4 players to the Cleveland Indians for blossoming star Dennis Eckersley. A floppy-haired ball of energy who channeled his enthusiasm into outs. Holdovers Louis Tiant and Bill Lee provided a baffling right-left combination.
The 2-2 pitch to Morales. Ground ball right side. Scott has it, and he'll race Morales to the bag, and the ball game is over.
And if any of the starters failed, relief pitcher Bob Stanley was there to save the day. Rounding out an already impressive lineup was Jerry Remy of Somerset, Massachusetts, a Red Sox rarity, an honest-to-goodness speed merchant. The Red Sox dominated the American League in the opening months of the 1978 season.
On the inside corner, and Louis Tiant gets Pat Kelly for the...
From the beginning, Jim Rice was prodigious with one of the most amazing offensive performances in Red Sox, if not baseball, history.
Jimmy talked with his bat. Jimmy was a great hitter. He had a phenomenal year that year. He was a tough out, men on base. You know, you didn't want anybody else up there, Jimmy.
Rice's numbers, a .315 average, and Major League leading totals of 46 home runs and 139 RBIs. His team record 406 total bases made him the first American League player to have more than 400 in 31 years.
Jimmy Rice was a tremendous talent. He, you know, set a high standard when he came in and stayed that way consistently for, I don't know, 14, 15 years, I believe. Very strong. One of the few men, I think maybe the first man ever to check swing and break the bat, have the top of the bat snap off.
Entering September, the Red Sox were a healthy 6 1/2 games ahead of the Yankees. But due to a combination of injuries and erratic play, the Red Sox once healthy lead had evaporated. With just 2 weeks remaining in the season, the Red Sox trailed their nemesis by 3 1/2 games. But the Sox staged a comeback of their own, winning 12 of their last 14, including their last 8 in a row. The last game of the season, Louis Tiant climaxed a wonderful comeback with a clutch 2-hit shutout. The win propelled the Red Sox into a 1-game playoff with the Yankees.
We go to tomorrow. We go to tomorrow. But what must Mike Torres be thinking about as he comes in?
Mike Torres drew the start against his old mates. The best pitcher in the game, Ron Guidry, started for the Yankees.
If you want to know what pressure is, it's this game, the 1978 playoff game. One team goes on, one team goes home. One team's going to win 100, one team's going to be a loser with 99 wins.
Carl Yastrzemski rose to the occasion by putting the Sox ahead in the second with a solo home run off Guidry.
This is deep, and this ball is gone. A home run for Yastrzemski.
Rice knocked his 139th run of the season in the 6th.
Base hit. No, line drive. Base hit it is. All right, run scores. It's 2-0. Big run for the Red Sox. 2-0 in favor of Boston.
But in the 7th, light-hitting shortstop Bucky Dent made his way to the plate and into Boston sports infamy.
Bucky Dent.
It was a pitch, I guess, I got in the head of the count on him. I wanted to, and then unfortunately he fouled that ball off on his foot, and it took like 5 minutes. It came out and they sprayed some of the ice on him, and he was hobbling around, and I was in a pretty good rhythm going and going and going. I think it threw me off a little bit because I didn't quite throw the pitch where I wanted to on the very first pitch when he came back into the batter's box.
Bucky's okay. Count 1 ball, 1 strike. 2 out. Chambliss on second. White on first. Red Sox lead it 2-0.
I was trying to get it in a little bit, knock him off the plate because I could afford to strike, and then come back. I was going to come back with a slider down and away, get a little ground ball, or pop him up.
Ball hit hard to left field. Yastrzemski goes back. He looks up. It's going to be out of here. A home run for Bucky Dent.
Location-wise, I thought I would get a little bit more of a sink, and it didn't sink on me, doggone it. And he happened to, he just got in his little wheelhouse, and the ball just carried on. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it.
That sentiment was shared by the better part of New England, and it wasn't the last stroke of misfortune that the Red Sox would suffer on that October afternoon.
3-run homer by Bucky Dent has put the Yankees on top 3-2.
Trailing 5-4 in the final frame, the Sox tried to rally one more time.
Ball 4 in his arm.
Burleson walked.
Tying run aboard.
Then Remy hit a line drive that Yankee right fielder Lou Piniella lost in the sun and shadows.
When that ball was hit, Lou Piniella, to this day, will tell you he lost the sight of the ball, and he just made a stab. Had he not ball just landed in his glove for whatever reason it happened, if the ball had not landed in his glove, it's possible that Jerry could have had an inside the park home run because the ball would have gone right by him.
If the ball gets by him, you see him recover very quickly, then turn around and make an outstanding throw to Nettles at third base.
With 2 out and runners on first and third, fireballer Goose Gossage faced Carl Yastrzemski.
And he pops it up. Greg Nettles at third base. Backing up, he makes the catch, and the Yankees have won the division.
That was probably the most intense game I've ever played in my life, just because all the marbles were there. Both teams came to the ballpark with their suitcases packed to go on to the playoffs, and one team was going home a disappointing second-place team. And unfortunately for us, we came up a little short.
I still say that probably the best ball club we had was in '78.
The Yankees went on to win the World Series. The Red Sox again had played to the edge of total victory. 12 seasons after the original year of the Yez came the year of the Yez Part 2. On June 30th, 1979, Carl Yastrzemski belted career home run number 399. For the next 25 days, New England waited for number 400. WSBK-TV preempted local programming when number 8 stepped up to the plate.
Ball game. When his turn at the plate is done, we switch you back to battle him without having missed a scene. We're following him in his quest for home run number 400. Long drive, right field, way back, near the wall, and there it is! Home run number 400, Carl Yastrzemski. Now, listen and watch. Has been hit by Carl Yastrzemski, and watch him. Up everywhere at Fenway Park.
Then, 2 months later, Carl Yastrzemski, heir to Ted Williams' legacy, confirmed his reservation in Cooperstown.
There goes the ground ball. Base hit! Number 3,000. Yastrzemski's got it. And all hell breaks loose at Fenway Park.
The fans in Fenway Park had witnessed baseball history. Carl Yastrzemski had become the first American League player to have both 3,000 hits and 400 home runs.
The last hit was the hottest of all 3,000. I took so long because I really enjoyed all these standing ovations you gave me the last couple of days.
The early 1980s saw the development of Dwight Evans into baseball's premier right fielder.
This guy had a cannon out there, and if he got to a ball, he caught it. He made sliding catches, and he always made the right throw, though. Always knew the game. He always knew the situation at hand, where to throw the ball. Hit for power, too. Here's another guy that's up there with Hall of Fame type numbers.
A decent hitter in the early part of his career, Evans tied for the 1981 American League lead in home runs. In the 1980s, he had more home runs and more extra base hits than any American League player.
It is home run, Dwight Evans, 6-3 ball game.
Also in 1981, newly acquired third baseman Carney Lansford led the American League in batting at .336. Lansford suffered an injury in the 1982 campaign, opening the door for Wade Boggs, a rookie third baseman who would wind up being a veritable hitting machine for the Red Sox. Boggs was a 5-time American League batting champion, and he is the possessor of a career Red Sox batting average of .338. That ranks him second only to Ted Williams in team history.
He would keep fouling off the ball, until he got the one he wanted to hit.
Again. But then you've seen this before.
And I don't think I've ever seen a hitter that was as good a hitter as Wade Boggs with 2 strikes on it.
A 3-2 count. 4 or 5 foul balls and a single by Boggs. 2 on, nobody out.
Boggs was a guy, when he hit and got on base, we won. And when he didn't do that, we didn't win too often. And he played tremendous third base. Very seldom ever made a bad throw. And his fielding was great. He wasn't a great fielder when he came up, but he made himself one.
Nice play. 2 of them in a row by Wade Boggs.
At the conclusion of the 1983 season, Carl Yastrzemski, at age 44, the oldest player ever to wear a Boston uniform, and second only to Ted Williams as the most prolific slugger in Red Sox history, called it a career. And what a career it was. 23 years in a Red Sox uniform, the most games played in American League history, 3,419 hits, 452 home runs, and 19 All-Star selections.
The ageless one, Carl Yastrzemski. Well, what are you going to say? The man is just great.
Unlike Williams, he chose to make his last appearance in a Red Sox uniform an unabashedly public party.
Yaz is a very quiet, introspective kind of guy, and I think there was some question of how he would react to this, but it was so warm.
Special day for me.
Everything was orchestrated so well.
I'm extremely honored that so many of you came here to share this day with me.
I thought that, geez, that day that I watched him retire on the field, he was again bigger than life. He just grabbed a moment and really made it a special day in Red Sox history.
New England, I love you.
When I gave the speech, I didn't know what I was going to do after I was finished. And then I said, well, I've got to do something, so I said I'm going to run around the field.
Here he is running around the stadium, and everybody is standing, and he's waving, and he's touching hands with people, and it was just a great time.
He loved the fans too, and he showed it in his gratitude of running around the field, giving them high fives and low fives or whatever. That's a public display of what a man he truly is.
Watching him on the day that he retired, watching him go around and touching everybody's hands and being so real to them again, it's just incredible the magnitude of how many people he's touched in his career.
Everything else stopped. I don't even recall who we were playing, what the score was, the circumstances, or anything else. But it was a milestone. Just watching many things went through your mind and your visions of what he had accomplished, and you said, "Oh my goodness."
the players and the Indians team is standing up as he goes by third, and he's shaking hands with them.
He did as good a job of saying goodbye as anyone I've ever seen in sports.
I said, and the final score today is, Yaz, we love you.
The seeds of greatness were sown in the early 80s. A number of young players, including left-hander Bruce Hurst.
Struck him out.
And the highly charged oil can Boyd came into prominence.
He was sharp. He could read hitters. He understood how to get them out. He could see holes that a lot of other people didn't see. He also was flamboyant, I think. He brought some magic to the pitcher's mound every time he went out there. Bruce Hurst was this phenom pitcher who was coming through the organization that had fantastic stuff. A lefty that the Red Sox had been looking for.
But the hurler that showed more promise than anyone was a big fireballing Texan named Roger Clemens.
Clemens gets his first major league strikeout.
Their unsung battery mate was the quiet, unassuming, and quietly productive Rich Gedman from Worcester, Massachusetts.
Getty takes him deep, way back, home run, into the grandstand out
The
there.
lineup also featured two quality batsmen. Bill Buckner was a first baseman with a reliable bat.
Mel Hall going back, he's right at the fence, it's gone. Two-run homer for Buckner, and we're tied at 3.
Outfielder Tony Armas packed a wallop and would smash a league-leading 43 home runs.
A screen home run for Tony Armas, his 37th of the year. And the Red Sox lead it 2-0.
I felt like we had a great club. We had a good mix of some veteran players and young players. There's a lot of energy on our team. We'd been around each other for a few years, and then in spring training we got Don Baylor, and that added I don't know, an extra dimension to our team.
When he was traded in spring training, it was like our team got a jump start. Somebody who not only was a great talent, but he was a tremendous clubhouse leader, and he helped us prepare for what was ahead of us.
For those who believe in signs of destiny, one was literally provided right off the bat in 1986 in Detroit.
We are ready for the first pitch of the 86 season, and here it is. Long drive, left center field, way back, left center, and gone. Home run, Dwight Evans.
If there was any doubt that Evans' home run was a harbinger of a special season, it was erased on the cool, raw night of April 29th, when 24-year-old Roger Clemens electrified New England and introduced himself to the rest of the baseball world.
When you're mounting up strikeouts and you're out there doing it, nobody's talking to you. When you're doing something like that, it's somewhat like a no-hitter, where guys don't want to talk to you.
Strike 3. Struck him out.
It was probably more intense in a way than a no-hitter. He just didn't know if he could keep it up, and he was doing things that nobody had ever done before. The thing that's ironic for me is that he didn't walk anybody.
Defensive set. Popped up right side. Playable for Baylor as he drifts into foul ground now. And has it go off his glove.
That gives Roger another chance.
The question about Don Baylor missing a pop-up during the game, he got razzed plenty about that. But it was nice that we had the type of player on the mound that could overcome a missed out or get a fourth out of the inning, if you will.
Well, watching Roger pitch that night, you knew something was up in the first 2 or 3 innings, because normally when Roger pitched, there were a lot of foul balls. The Mariners weren't even making contact. They were swinging and missing. There were very few foul balls. He was just mowing them down. And about the third inning, he started a string of 8 straight strikeouts. And I said, let's get out the record book because something special is going to happen tonight.
Got him. 13 and a new Red Sox record.
I struck out in the first inning and in the 9th. So I was 19, 1 and 19. And I had no idea because, I mean, we knew he'd struck out a lot of guys, but it was a good ball game.
But as the game went along, it was a 0-0 game up until like the 6th or 7th inning. So the strikeouts really were noticeable, but not noticeable because there was a bigger thing at hand, and that was to try and find a way to win the game.
Young's place. Drive deep to left center field. This ball is deep, deep, gone. It's a home run. 3-run homer for Evans. The Red Sox lead 3-1.
For 9 innings, I watched this guy play catch with his catcher. There were so many swings and misses or balls taken that were just unhittables. You don't deal that too often. And like I said, it was incredible in the sense that everywhere I put the glove, he hit it. I would like to take some credit for it, but it was all him.
I would think they would just stay up. Yep. As a matter of fact, I'm going to stand up.
A new record. Clemens has set a major league record for strikeouts in a game. 20.
Clemens led the way on a rocket ride to the top of the standings in May. Rocket Roger himself was en route to a 14-0 start, and everything was going right for the Red Sox.
Second strikeout for Clemens.
Right before the All-Star break, in an extra inning game against the California Angels, down 7-4 in the 12th inning, a combination of hitting heroics and an Angel gaffe delivered the Sox a win.
And he slams it into right field. Baylor coming to the plate. Here comes the throw. Not in time. It's tied up. The ball gets away. It is backed up. Runners will be at second and third. Break and notice the matter. Runners at second and third.
Did he call a ball?
They have called a ball.
He did.
They must have.
Yes,
Red
sir.
Sox win it. A balk has been called, and Evans comes home. And another impossible win for Boston.
I remember Bob Boone going nuts. And it was like, I cannot believe we just won this game. Everybody just rallied around it. And again, it's one of those times where you sit there, much like the first series in Detroit, you go, if these guys are the best, we can beat them.
The makeup of the club was great. Evans in right field, tremendous.
Leaps up for the catch.
We had Jimmy Rice in left field. Boggs, probably one of the best hitters in the game. And I think once we picked up Owen, Spike Owen, late in the season, it gave us some stability.
Hall going back, still going back. This ball is out of here. Home run for Spike Owen.
Marty Barrett at second had an exceptionally good season for us. And we had depth behind the plate, Gedman as a catcher. So it was a club that really didn't need a lot. Henderson gave us that kind of shot in the arm to give us a little bit more power.
Center field, being chased by Shelby, and up he goes. It is gone. Dave Henderson's home run.
We had depth in pitching. Our bullpen was pretty strong. At that time, I had made a trade to bring Calvin Giraldi here. But it was a ball club that was a very talented ball club.
We put together a pretty good ball club, but we came together too. We chose to come together and play together. And I don't know how that happens. It just happens. You know, you get confidence in one another. You know guys are going to stick up for you. You know guys are going to back you. You know the guy behind you is going to hit, or the pitcher that's coming up is going to, the next day is going to bring us out of a slump. You just knew things were going to happen, and it creates that winning attitude.
Sensing that the team had a chance to go for it all, Lou Gorman acquired future Hall of Famer Tom Seaver.
Between Baylor and Seaver in our clubhouse, they were unbelievable catalysts and leaders on that ball club. And everybody went to Seaver or to Baylor. And Baylor wasn't afraid of anybody. Baylor would challenge anybody in there. He felt they weren't putting out, he'd go to them and get them face to face, right up in their face. Seaver, in a quieter way, but a great influence on pitching and theories of pitching. And Clements would go to him and talk about pitching, and the whole pitching staff would.
Seaver all my life had been one of my idols. I loved the way he pitched, and he was the epitome of a major league pitcher. And so to have him, for me, it was like the University of Seaver. I mean, I wanted to go to school every day.
Before August was over, Clemens had notched his 200th strikeout and won his 20th game, becoming the team's first 20-game winner since Dennis Eckersley. The Red Sox were right where they wanted to be, in first place heading into the final month. And then on September 28th, a highly charged oil can Boyd was on the mound against the Blue Jays with a chance to bring playoff baseball back to Boston.
Jim Rice, 2 out. A high pop-up. This may do it. Buckner is there. It's all over.
11 years after playing a lead role in the greatest World Series in the history of the Grand Ole Game, the Red Sox would engage in another round of unforgettable October drama. In the 1986 American League Championship Series, the West champion California Angels rode the emotional wave of the franchise's first playoff appearance to take a commanding 3-1 series lead. And the way things were looking after games 3 and 4, it looked like the Red Sox season was going to end in Anaheim.
The beginning of the series did not go well for us. We were able to battle and scratch, and there was a lot of tight games in the series. You know, the series was over basically in California.
To center field and deep and carrying and gone. Was just off his glove for a home run.
What happened was Tony Amish got hurt. He started that game in center field, so Henderson was a late replacement. Came in the middle innings, and then Gritch hit a drive to left center. He went back to the fence, hit his glove, and knocked it over for a 2-run homer, which looked like it might be the difference in the series.
Bruce Hurst took a 2-1 lead into the 6th, where it appeared that the fates were conspiring against the Red Sox again. Making matters worse, the Angels added 2 more runs in the 7th for a 5-2 lead. And so, down 3 runs with 3 outs to go, in a series they were trailing 3 games to 1, the Red Sox did what they'd done all season. They battled back.
Pettis goes back, leaps, and she's gone. And it's 5-4. Don Baylor hits one out.
There's 2 outs in the last inning. I was coming up. They had motioned to the bullpen for the left-hander. And much of the resolve that we had during the season was brought into that. I'm sitting there going, there's no way I'm going to be the last out of this game. I don't know how or what way it's going to happen, but I have to find a way to get on. And fortunately for me, the first pitch is like right at my noggin, and the damn thing didn't break.
Look out. Ooh, it got hit on the hand on a pitch in on him. And the drama keeps building. Here comes Moore.
In a scene straight from nearby Hollywood, Dave Henderson was faced with the added prospect of making the final out of the Red Sox season.
1-0.
David played hard every day. He played hard every out, every inning, and he had the most positive attitude, and he was so clutch, and he just, you know, there was no quit in him. And the way things were kind of transpiring, you know, getting to his at-bat was, you know, we just felt good. For some reason, we just felt good.
The 2-2 pitch. Stays alive.
And the fans were beginning to stream down the aisles to go on the field, and we were about defeated. And I began to look for a way to get out because we wanted to get Mrs. Yorkie out and get out of the crowd and head back. And I began to get up to go find a security guard to make room to get us out. And I heard a crack of the bat.
To left field and deep and down he goes back and it's gone. Unbelievable.
By the time I turned around, it was like someone fired a cannon in the ballpark in total silence.
Game 5 was the greatest game I've ever been in my life. There was more, especially the last 2 innings, there was more ups and downs and emotion and energy. And than I'd ever been around. I've never been around 50 or 60,000 people like at Anaheim. That was deathly silent. The only people we could hear were ourselves.
Forgotten in the euphoria is that the Angels tied the game in the bottom of the ninth, sending the game into extra innings.
The throw home is there. No, he's safe.
It looked like it was over, and Henderson had to perform the heroics twice. Then the Red Sox loaded the bases in the 11th inning, and he hit the sacrifice fly.
And it's thrown to the gap in left center field, deep enough to score a run. Pettis makes the catch. Baylor tags. Red Sox lead 7-6.
Popped up. Here comes Stapleton. Next clean to Boston.
Although the Red Sox trailed in the series 3-2, in their minds the series was decided.
Somehow we came from the depths of being eliminated and scratched our way back and won Game 5. But what I remember most is after winning Game 5, there was not a feeling that we would lose. There was a feeling of, this series is ours. They're coming back to our hometown and they're not going to win.
And the Red Sox easily took Games 6 and 7, capping the greatest comeback in playoff history. Baseball's spotlight shines brightest in October, and in 1986, the Red Sox shared center stage with the New York Mets. But the season that began with a harbinger ended with a prophecy.
The nightmares are that you're going to let the winning run score on a ground ball through your legs. So, you know, those things happen, you know, and just I think a lot of it is just fate.
The team split the first 4 games, but pitcher Bruce Hurst put the Sox in the driver's seat by throwing a complete game 4-2 victory in Game 5.
In Game 5, when Bruce Hurst pitched, it was a great game, and we were able to win that one and go up 3-2. Going back to New York, going into Game 6, you know, we felt very confident that we were going to have a chance to win.
Game 6 probably was the most dramatic moment in my time, certainly, and maybe in the last 20 years. It was a ball game we had won. There were so many things happened in it. First off, Clemens was pitching brilliantly, had a lead after 7 innings, 3-2, had a 4-hitter going, came out with a blister on his finger, and then to come back and actually take the lead dramatically on Henderson's home run in the 10th inning.
Henderson has done it again. And a note on Rick Aguilera.
The Red Sox took a 5-3 lead into the bottom of the 10th, 3 outs away from a world championship.
And that's into dead center with Henderson going to run it down. And the Mets are down to their last out.
Have 2 outs, 2 strikes in the batter, 1 pitch away, 1 strike away from a world championship.
And then the Red Sox world and World Series dreams disappeared in a blur.
Lined into left field, base hit for Carter, and the Mets are still alive. Curveball, and that's going to be hit to center, base hit. And that's going to be hit into center field, base hit. Here comes Carter to score, and the tying run is at third in Kevin Mitchell. He wants Bob Stanley to pitch to Mookie Wilson.
Bob Stanley is a guy who was Red Sox through and through. At the time he was playing, nobody did more for the Jimmy Fund. A quality guy, spent his entire career in a Red Sox uniform, and he really deserved to be the guy to close out the World Series.
And it's going to go to the backstop. Here comes Mitchell to score the tying run, and Ray Knight is at second base. So the winning run is at second base with 2 out, 3-2 to Mookie Wilson. Little roller up along first, behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it.
We were a strike away from winning that World Series 3 times. We had 2 strikes, 2 outs 3 times and couldn't shut the door. And it should never come to a ground ball to Bill Buckner. It should never have come to that. Why it happens and why those things happen, I don't know. I don't know. But I've never been so close and never wanted something so much.
Bill Buckner was a major part of our ball club. We wouldn't have been in the playoffs of the World Series without him. And a great competitor, really great competitor. I feel badly that people only remember that one play when he missed that one ball. Because when you look back on his career, he had a great career as a Major League player.
It was still a Game 7 to be played, but much like the Angels had been following Dave Henderson's heroics, the Red Sox were emotionally spent. Destiny had taken a bad bounce, and when it was over, the Red Sox were left gazing at an all too familiar sight, the edge of total victory.
That is the closest you'll ever come to winning and not winning the championship that we've so long sought after. And that hurt. That hurt.
It was there. And again, you know, I think all our lives would be changed if somehow we would have been able to get that third out.
I remember a line that Mike Monagle had written some years ago. And he wrote a line, he said that baseball is not a matter of life and death, but the Red Sox are. And that suddenly the implication of that hit me that moment as you sat there consumed in that despair.
The disappointment of the 1986 World Series did not, however, diminish the team's fire. In 1987, Roger Clemens powered his way to his second straight Cy Young. And Wade Boggs emerged as the game's best pure hitter with his league-leading .363 average.
Toward left field for Boggs, toward the wall, and off the wall high. Takes the big hop. Boggs has a 2-out double. He goes deep, left field, high into the air. Game's over. Home run, Kevin Romine.
100 years of Red Sox history reads like a long book, yet each season unfolds as a story unto itself. Witness Morgan magic in 1988 when Boston-born and bred Joe Morgan assumed the reins of his hometown team.
That's out towards second, and it's Jody Reed over, and this game is over. As Joe Morgan's crew makes it 24 in a row at home. And
something happened that probably will never happen again in baseball. It could, but it's going to be tough to break. A team with an interim manager that won 12 straight games. This just doesn't happen. When a manager gets fired, usually a team might win a couple of 3 or 4 right now and then usually revert back to where they were. But to win 12 in a row is just unbelievable.
High drive, right field, way back. Home run, the Red Sox win. Todd Benziger.
Every day it seems someone new would step to the plate to become a hero.
That's the single most exciting period in my career with the Red Sox, Morgan Magic. 12 in a row, 19 out of 20, and 24 straight at home. And there were some spectacular finishes.
Barrett bangs one into left field. This game is over. The Red Sox win it 3-2. Fly ball, deep right field, back toward the bullpen.
The Red Sox advanced to the American League Championship Series against Oakland, where the magic would come to an end. The Red Sox staged more drama in 1990 when the biggest challenge in the East came from the Toronto Blue Jays. Tom Brunansky came to Boston with a reputation as a streak hitter that could carry a team when he was hot. And that's exactly what he did in the final weeks of the 1990 season. Brunansky homered 3 times in one game to propel the Sox to a key victory over the Jays. The Red Sox work wasn't done until the final game of the season. Clinging to a 2-run lead in the 9th inning, Brunansky would again play the role of hero.
And with 2 out and the tying run was at first, Ozzie Guillen, who almost did everything to the left of second base, even though he's a left-hand batter, pulled the rear and pitched down the line.
Line down the right field line, hooking toward the corner, Brunansky! He made the catch in the corner! A great catch by Tom Brunansky! And the Red Sox are the champions of the American League East in 1990!
Although they would eventually lose to Oakland in the playoffs, 1990 was a season to remember. Midway through the 1991 season, the next Red Sox hero arrived on the scene. First baseman Mo Vaughn instantly became a fan favorite. The 1995 season belonged to Vaughn. He exploded with 39 home runs and 126 RBIs, numbers that would earn him the American League MVP award.
Mo had this uppercut swing that was just ferocious, and he could catch up with anybody's fastball. He really wanted to mash the baseball and hit it as far as he could. So that year he tied for the league lead in RBIs with the league's most valuable player. So you can't argue with the results.
By Mo Vaughn. The Red Sox are Eastern Division champs.
Following a first-place clinching 3-2 victory on September 20th over Milwaukee, fans celebrated the team's first return to the playoffs since 1990. The Red Sox faced Cleveland in the playoffs, but were swept in 3 games. In 1996, Mo Vaughn continued to cement his place as one of the best hitters in Red Sox history, blasting 44 homers and knocking in 143 runs, the team's highest RBI total since 1950.
Right center toward the 392 mark and over it.
That same year, Roger Clemens, in one of his final pitching performances for the team, did something that he alone had done in baseball history.
Now with 19 strikeouts. One shy of the record.
I mean, totally dominating. You had a feeling about the 4th or 5th inning that you could be in for something special because he was just blowing hitters away. They weren't even close.
Here's the 2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. That's 20 on the night for Roger Clemens, who has tied his own record.
10 years after his first 20K performance, the Rockets' electrifying encore served as a fitting farewell from a pitcher who had provided Red Sox fans with 13 seasons of thrills. But as has been the case throughout Red Sox history, as one hero was making his departure, another one was waiting in the wings. Nomar. He was on a first-name basis with Red Sox fans almost from the moment he arrived. But nobody was ready for what Nomar Garciaparra would do in his first full campaign.
Sends this one deep to left field. It is going. It is gone. A home run for Garciaparra.
When he came up to the big leagues in 1997, I knew we had something special when I called Ted Williams one day. And Ted said, "Hey, let me ask you about that kid shortstop you guys brought up, Garciaparra." I said, "Yeah." He said, Ted said to me, he said, "He reminds me of somebody, but I can't quite put my finger on it." So about 2 weeks later, after watching Nomar perform, and he did real well when he first came up to the big leagues, Ted calls me up out of the blue, and I get on the phone, and he doesn't even say hello. He just blurts out, "DiMaggio." The style, the grace, the legs, the way he swings the bat, the way the bat hits the ball just about every time he swings. He said, "The kid shortstop reminds me of DiMaggio."
Garciaparra had one of the greatest rookie seasons in baseball history. He belted 30 home runs and drove in just under 98 runs as a leadoff hitter. Nomar's outstanding offense was matched only by his glorious glove work.
That's a tough play, a spinner to short. Nomar, a great play.
If you say Nomar, you say, I paid my money to watch him. I'll put him right up there with the best players in the game, if not the best.
Pedro Martinez has shared the Red Sox marquee with Nomar since 1998. Martinez has provided Red Sox fans with the pleasure of seeing an ace pitcher at the top of his game.
He's one of the best ever, if not the best ever. I know every fifth day when he pitches, I'm a fan just like anybody else. If you've never been in Fenway Park, the day he pitches, the atmosphere is taken to another level. People ask me all the time, do I learn anything from him? I don't, because he's got 3 pitches that I don't have, and so every fifth day I'm a fan.
For 6 days in July of 1999, there was a love affair between a sport, a team, and a city. And as in any such relationship, there was honor. the honor for the Boston Red Sox to host the 70th All-Star Game and the last of the 20th century. Every day around Boston and at Fenway Park during All-Star Week was new, fresh, and exciting.
Could be all the way to Maine.
The All-Star Game shared top billing with another Ted Williams flair for the dramatic. That came when he was introduced as a member of the All-Century team.
Please welcome the greatest hitter that ever lived, number 9, Hall of Famer, baseball legend, Ted Williams.
Although he played in a different era, during a time when ball players left their gloves on the field between innings, the 1999 All-Stars, knowing they were in the presence of a legend, spontaneously yet reverently approached the greatest hitter who ever lived. It was obvious that Ted Williams basked in the moment. It turns out that John Updike was wrong. Gods do answer letters. It just takes a while for the message to come home.
It was just a very, very proud moment to be part of baseball in Boston. And I was so proud of how our people did that day. You know, not just in putting on the game and producing the show. The flyby was terrific. But in the way that Pedro Martinez performed, I mean, that was just awesome. You know, Pedro was out there on a mission, and he was going to show that he was the greatest pitcher in baseball. And the way he got to be MVP was by dominating every single batter that came up to the plate. And it was just extraordinary to watch.
Swung on and missed. Throw down Rodriguez. He got him. Strike him out, throw him out, double play.
Martinez's 1999 season was one of the best in baseball history. He struck out 313 opponents. His 23 wins and 2.07 ERA earned Martinez the pitching Triple Crown and the first of 2 consecutive Cy Young Awards with the Red Sox. The highlight of the regular season was a one-hit, 17-strikeout masterpiece that even captivated Yankee fans.
Pedro winds, he kicks, the pitch.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. Pedro Martinez has pitched a one-hitter.
And then there was the deciding game of the 1999 American League Divisional Series. With the Red Sox trailing 5-2 in the top of the 3rd inning, the Indians walked Nomar Garciaparra to load the bases. Troy O'Leary would make them regret that decision.
The pitch. Swing and a shot deep to right center. Way back! Way back! Grand slam! Troy O'Leary. First ball swinging.
The teams continued to pile on runs, but in the 4th inning, and the score tied at 8, an ailing Pedro Martinez made a show-stopping entrance from the bullpen.
When he came out of that bullpen, it was an eerie feeling in the ballpark, because Jacobs Field, which is really one of the loudest stadiums in the American League, especially for outdoor facilities, they saw him come in and they went silent. And I think that they feared Pedro at that moment, as if to say, uh-oh, he's back, we're in trouble. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened.
The fearsome Indians were powerless against Pedro. As the game moved into the 7th inning, the Red Sox bats had cooled as well. When the Indians intentionally walked Nomar, Troy O'Leary made them pay again.
Swing and a drive deep to right. Way back. This ball is gone. They did it again.
O'Leary's homer was more than enough cushion for Pedro, who did not allow a hit over 6 innings of relief.
Pedro Martinez, the best pitcher in baseball, has pitched 6 no-hit innings in relief.
The performance was perfect. He didn't allow a hit. He pitched 6 no-hit innings and got the last out and won the ball game. And I remember being in the clubhouse afterward and telling him that I thought it was the most heroic thing I'd ever seen on an athletic field, and the smile of satisfaction he had on his face was priceless.
But the Red Sox had completed their last courageous comeback. Even though they would lose to the Yankees in the championship series, the 1999 baseball season was a special one. The first Red Sox season of the 21st century was highlighted by superstar performances from Pedro Martinez and Nomar Garciaparra. Nomar continued to enhance his reputation as a premier player by devastating opposing pitchers. After flirting with the magical 400 mark for much of the season, he finished the year with a league-leading .372 batting average.
I heard a fan yell at me and just said, "Nomar, 398, come on, let's go." And I kind of just chuckled to myself, and I kind of like just turned around, and the fan was dead serious. And I was like, wow, and I couldn't believe it, and I was like, you know, it's here, it's at the, you know, pretty much the end of July, August, and I'm like, I figured, you know, 398, around 400, that's pretty good. I figure I'm doing all right this year. But I guess the moral of the story is that I went home and I go, and I couldn't believe, I was like, man, these fans are killing me for batting 398. And at the same time, I was also thankful that they get on me for batting, you know, 398, just saying that, you know, they love the game, they expect a lot out of you, and I expect a lot out of myself as well. And, you know, they're passionate about it, you know, they're never satisfied like I'm not. And I said, you know, just win a World Series and they won't care what I hit.
He became the first right-handed hitter to lead the league in hitting in consecutive seasons since Joe DiMaggio, 60 years early. In the second game of the 2001 season, Hideo Nomo, in his Red Sox debut, went into the ninth inning against the Baltimore Orioles with a chance to join the Red Sox no-hit club. The 2001 season also saw the emergence of Trot Nixon as a Red Sox player whose future had arrived.
The great thing about Trot Nixon is that he's ready to play every day, and he gives his best effort to Red Sox fans day in and day out. You see him diving for balls. You see him up there battling at the plate, grinding it out. The gritty performance day in and day out is really special, and that's why he's so popular with our fans.
Clearly a fearless player, Nixon achieved hero status in 2000 when he drove in the game's only runs against Roger Clemens, a new nemesis in pinstripes. And as had been the case with Nomar and Pedro before, Red Sox fans experienced a love at first sight with a king-size free agent prize, Manny Ramirez. In his first season with the Red Sox, Ramirez's 125 RBIs proved he is an absolute RBI machine. He also smashed some of the longest home runs of all time.
And Manny hits another bomb to left. Where will this one land? Into the 500 level. And way up into it.
Red Sox believers feel that in their future, there potentially resides another 400 hitter, another RBI and home run champion, and a pitcher capable of winning more Cy Young awards. Throughout New England, love and hope spring eternal for the Red Sox. It has always been that way, and it will always be that way.